Hi, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Kaylee, and this is Read, Rant, Review, where, you guessed it, I read a bunch of crazy books, and then I tell you all about it. Today we are starting, I don't know, maybe we'll call it like a new series on the channel of revisiting all of the like really popular books from my childhood that I completely and utterly avoided for way too long. One of those being today's book, The Selection by Kiera Cass. Currently on Goodreads, it's sitting at a 4.07, a little over 1.8 million ratings, and was published in 2012. So this is one of those like OG romantasy books or like dystopic YA romance, fantasy, craziness, you know, a la this in Red Queen and the Shatter Me series, like a whole bunch of books of that era. I was very in the height of my like hipster, I hate everything popular and I'm only going to read like slam poetry and watch documentaries that are in black and white and foreign films, right? Like I was one of those kids in high school. Like I missed out on a lot of this fun stuff. And so now as an adult getting back in my reading journey, I want to see what I missed out on as a kid and like what are the like cornerstones that have evolved, right? What walked so Fourth Wing could run is kind of where my mind is at. I've read the first book, got to the end of it, left on a cliffhanger, and it really was so easy and quick to read. It really is like a trash TV read. You know what I mean? Like just shut your brain off, have a good time. So I think I'm about to go on a road trip. I'm going to be in the car for like 5 hours and I'm going to try to knock out as much as I can. There are 3 full novels and then 2 novellas in this series. And then I'll report back and we'll do a little recap of hopefully the entire series. We'll see. So that's what we're getting into today. I'll read you a book description real quick, give you 1 or 2 little final closing notes, and then we'll get right into it. So the book description. For 35 girls, The Selection is the chance of a lifetime, the opportunity to escape the life laid out for them since birth, to be swept up in a world of glittering gowns and priceless jewels, to live in a palace and compete for the heart of the gorgeous Prince Maxon. But for America Singer, yeah, you heard that right, America Singer, being selected is a nightmare. It means turning her back on her secret love with Aspen, who is a caste below her, leaving her home to enter a fierce competition for a crown she doesn't want. Living in a palace that is constantly threatened by violent rebel attacks. Then America meets Prince Maxon. Gradually, she starts to question all of the plans she's made for herself and realizes that the life she has always dreamed of may not compare to the future she never imagined. Very interesting. It's like Bachelor, right? People, a lot of the times whenever I looked it up, they were like, oh, it's The Bachelor plus Hunger Games equals The Selection. I think the Hunger Games comparison comes from the like dystopic future and caste system and some of those parallels, but there's not like, she's not battling for her life, right? She's battling for the heart of a prince. And so it's a little exaggerated in that regard. I think like so many books of this era all get kind of clumped together, even though there is some like individual aspects of themselves. It's like, oh, you have this one little tiny thing in common. You're the exact same thing. And it's like all clumped. But anyway. And then the only other things is a quick shout out and thank you to any of the audio listeners over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you guys so much for continuing to support the podcast over on those platforms. I appreciate you guys so much. And I also appreciate all of the patrons and members and book besties and all of those folks who are helping support the channel in that way. I appreciate you guys so much as well. My review is not for the author, friends, fans, family, stans, anything of the like. My reviews are for fellow readers. I have one rule and one rule only on this channel. Say it with me. Don't make it weird, please. That's all I ask of you people. And before I get into it, I do have to thank the sponsor of today's video, Quince. I'm like a corporate headquarters girly, so I'm very often wearing pantsuits to work. So I'm always on the lookout for really cute, high quality, sustainable clothing. I kept getting ads for it. I was like, oh my God, those are actually genuinely so cute, but I'm always afraid to check out new online stores. Nothing to be worried about here. It is all so high quality. There are some of their items that are 100% Mongolian cashmere, as well as 100% silk. This particular shirt is their lightweight cotton cashmere link stitch dolman sweater. It feels great. It's lightweight. I can wear it in the summertime. I still feel like professional and it feels like a very like modern cut. And 10 out of 10, like I said, I'm going to buy so many of these. The other things that I got from them are the ultra stretch single breasted blazer, as well as the ultra stretch wide leg pants. So ultra stretch, cannot emphasize that enough. It's comfortable, it's flattering. I am so highly impressed. The cut of the pants is absolutely perfect for the high heels that I wear. Literally stocking up in every single color. This is my new go-to work clothes. And it's not just clothing. They also have a bunch of home essentials, decor, bags, jewelry, shoes, travel accessories. If you're interested in upgrading your wardrobe, home essentials, and other things just around your house, go to the link in my description or scan the QR code on screen and you get free shipping and 365-day returns. Thank you so much, Quince, for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to the video. Days have passed. I have 10 pages of notes. I made a PowerPoint. I don't know if I'm going to use it at all or not because life happens. But I do at least want to use the first slide of the PowerPoint that I made, which is titled Lore of Ilia. So Ilia is basically North America. So what had happened in this universe is this book is occurring like 100 years in the future. The country of Ilia is about 80 years old. This book was written in 2015. So that means Kiera Cass is saying in 10 years from today, World War III happens. The United States owes China so much money that we go to war and owe them and whatever. And basically the United States becomes this like United State of China. Okay, cool. We become Chinese, and then that happens for a little while, and then eventually Russia tries to go at the United State of China, and then there's a World War IV happens. And now the whole entire world is in chaos. North America bands together, right, obviously United States, North America bands together to include Canada and Mexico. Loki, I swear to God, bud. North America bands together to battle Russia, and we end up getting independence from China, and we're no longer the United State of China. We now instead become the country of Ilia, and it's named after a guy named George Ilia, who was like leading the army in World War IV. So like, that's where we are. Along the way, that means that we are still at a current war with New Asia. Not sure who consists of New Asia. And 19-year-old men are drafted twice a year at random to support this war, and also because there's rebels attacking. Because upon the ending of World War IV and the establishment of Ilia as a country, George, whatever the fuck his name is, Ilia, the king, created a caste system. And so now there are 8 castes. There are the royals are number 1, and this is where my PowerPoint comes in handy if you're not looking. Caste 1 are royals. Caste 2 is celebrities. 3 is like professional degrees, so like doctors. 4 is managers and entrepreneurs, so like, ow, why are you eating my toe? Please let me talk to the people. 4 is managers and people that are like entrepreneurial fields. 5 is artists and performers. 6 are workers. 7 are manual laborers. And then 8 are unwell and unhoused people, as well as traders. In addition to implementing a caste system, there's a couple other changes that have happened since North America has banded together to become Ilia, such as in terms of like society and culture, there are now curfews, no premarital relations in order to prevent the spread of disease. Okay. And also there's like very limited tech and education opportunities. There's like no books here. There's no cell phones. There's no computers. I don't know how they made all of that disappear, but they did. And so now the history of the country is just kind of told like word of mouth, which, as you know, is very alarming and very concerning because you can twist it any way you want, right? Like there's no evidence of anything to counter that. People can't talk to each other, can't talk to the outside world. You're just given the information that you are. Ilia does that through a Friday broadcast where the government will like give the update, like basically a fireside chat, if you're familiar with what that is. They'll just do like a weekly news update from the government of like what's going on. This is your one news thing that you have, unless you're in the higher castes. If you're in like caste 1 and 2, you do have cell phones and magazines and things of that nature, but there's no like history books or standard education, especially for lower castes. Okay, so this is all just like kind of important contextual things to note. Also, for some godforsaken reason, I don't know, I believe it had to do with the first king and one of his sons, something or another. In order to pick his wife, they created something called the selection. This is what this entire book is about. So the selection process is where they gather 35 women. It's like young girls, really, truly. They're like 17 to like 25, I think, is like kind of the age range that we're dealing with. Honestly, 25 might even be too old, knowing the way people write these books. It's probably like 17 to 22, 21, okay? 35 girls get selected across the country. There's a bunch of different, like, states don't exist anymore. They've all been like reshaped. I don't know. Like, now instead of California, it's like part of it is called Angeles. There's just Carolina now instead of North and South Carolina, and a bunch of crazy names for all these areas. Dude, the lore goes so deep in this universe, okay? They pick one girl from each of them to go and represent as the selection. Okay, so these 35 girls, they get selected. There's like a whole process. Everybody, submits their pictures. They get picked out. I don't know, whatever vetting process thing that happens. They get invited. They get approved. They go to the castle, these 35 girls, and they compete for the heart of the prince. Whoever picks, there you go. She's now a princess in line to be the next king and queen. The important thing to note is any of the girls, these 35 girls, they get chosen and go up here. Even if they don't get chosen by the prince, they will become a caste 3. So it's a big deal to get chosen because it is life-changing for anybody who's in the lower castes. So that's kind of the situation. That's what we're going into. Let's begin. Chapter 1 of our book is introducing us to America, really just kind of establishing everything that I just told you, because obviously that gets like trickled to us throughout the book. I'm just trying to make it easy for everybody off the bat. So, stop it. So in chapter 1, our book opens with America receiving an invitation that she has been chosen to be part of the selection. So this is literally just like round 1 of the process of being picked, right? This letter will go out to eligible girls across the country, girls and young women across the country. And then they'll have to like submit a photo, go through a couple other things before they are like officially picked. But this is the initial, hey, here's your invitation if you want to partake in this, right? She receives this. She doesn't want to do it because she has somebody else that she already loves. We'll get to that in a second. And also she doesn't want to do it because it's not very romantic. Like the idea of like going and competing for the heart of this guy seems really kind of weird and gross to her. But again, life-changing. She would literally be elevated 2 castes automatically just for showing up. And also, while you're there, your family is compensated. And so it would be life-changing even if she went up there for a couple of days, right? A month even, like life-changing amounts of money to her family and to her in general. What we also learn about America is because they are caste 5, her family is full of musicians and like her family, they're all artists or musicians. She in particular is a singer and she plays violin and piano, and she just goes around at all of these different like basically birthday parties and events and does like entertainment. And then it's just a whole family affair. So that's who she is, right? And that's kind of where we're starting off at. In chapter 2, she is sneaking out to go to a tree house after dark, middle of the night, to go and visit her secret boyfriend named Aspen. Her and Aspen have been secretly dating for 2 years because, like I said, they have curfews. We're going very like puritanical. Is that what it would be? Purity culture kind of weird stuff happening here, where you can't have any relationships and you definitely can't have any like R-rated relations with other people prior to marriage. And it is just very, very dangerous. But her and Aspen really, really love each other, and they've had this crush for like 2 years. Like I said, they've been dating. Added to the general kind of like anti-relationship thing here is the fact that Aspen is from caste 6. So he is from the caste below hers. It is very abnormal for a woman to marry down. Usually women will marry up because they will take on their husband's caste, right? It's not like if she married him, he would become a 5. It's she would become a 6, which is not great. because her family struggles enough. His family definitely struggles, to the point that whenever her and Aspen go and like meet in this treehouse at night, she's often bringing him like food and leftovers to try to feed him, because his family doesn't really get any food, and obviously he's giving all of his away, like all of his rations or anything that he gets, to his siblings and his mother. It is just, again, very sad. So they're hanging out, they're talking this night. She tells him about getting the invite for the selection, and he says, you have to do it. Like, I don't want you to miss out on such an opportunity to change your life, especially because of me. Because obviously she's like, I love you, Aspen. I don't want to go. None of this means anything. I just want to be with you. Because she doesn't even care. She would be a 6. She loves him, right? But he wants her to live her best life, and he wants her to be taken care of. And so he says, please, for the love of God, just go ahead and try. Like, at least put your name in the hat and see what happens. And so she says, okay, I guess if you're twist my arm, I guess I'll do it, okay? And then she sings for him, and he gives her a penny to pay for her services. That sounds really weird. He feels really bad though, because he has no money to give her for performing, but he loves it when she sings to him, and so he gives her pennies and she has them collected in a little jar. It's very cute, okay? I'm not gonna lie, I thought that was super cute. In chapter 3, after talking to Aspen the night before, she's decided that she's going to apply for the selection, but obviously her parents don't know that because they don't know about her secret relationship. And so when she wakes up that morning, her mom says, hey, America, if you apply for the selection, you can go and work and you can keep half of your money. Like, you don't have to just give it to the family and us to divvy it out. Like, you can have a little bit more of your money. She says, okay, yeah, totally. I was going to sign up anyway, but now if you're going to let me keep my money, of course I'm going to do it. So her and her mother head out to wherever the heck to go and get some professional photos taken so that they can, be judged basically by the royal family to be selected to go to the selection. Sure. Okay. So while she's there and about to get her photo taken, they are behind Aspen's mother and Aspen's 2 sisters. They are also of eligible age, and they're going to try as well. Same reasoning, life-changing stuff here. While they're standing behind her, their moms are talking. They're friends, like they're neighbors, right? Like they're family friends and everything, and they've like known each other forever. And so the moms are talking, and Aspen's mom is like, yeah, he's been acting kind of secretive lately, and he's like saving up a bunch of money, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna like propose to somebody soon. And she has to play it off because she's like, oh my God, wait, he's actually gonna propose to me? That is craziness. And so when she gets her photo taken, she has the biggest smile because she's thinking of Aspen and their future, okay? And she doesn't think that any girl in Ilia could be smiling more than she was in that moment. A week later, her and Aspen are meeting in the treehouse again, and this time she surprises him with an absolute feast because she's been able to keep all that money that we were talking about whenever she's going on these jobs now. So she gives him this like whole beautiful picnic feast thing, hoping, also kind of low-key, high-key, that he's going to propose to her that night, right? She's going to set up this whole thing in the treehouse. What happens actually, though, is he shows up, he sees all of the food that she has presented, and he breaks up with her. He says that it's like humiliating, that like she would have all of this and he can't provide for her, and he just can't stand the idea of her becoming a 6 and her being like cold or scared or questioning where their next meal is. He's like, I cannot do that to you. I'm breaking up with you. Oh, so that breaks her heart. Understandably, she is completely and utterly heartbroken. She goes home, and on the report that night, they are announcing the girls who are being picked up for the selection. Unsurprisingly, her photo with her beautiful radiant smile when she thought Aspen was going to propose to her is so captivating. She is chosen. Her world goes crazy. After being picked, this is a huge deal. She is now, and this is kind of gross, considered property of Ilia. And so there's a bunch of like royal workers and stuff of that nature that come and like get her prepared for it and start giving her particular food and vitamins to ensure that she's healthy, and she has to sign off on a bunch of stuff and like promise that she won't do X, Y, and Z because she's property of Ilia. And like her life is completely changing, and also completely changing in a really gross sense because one of the guys that comes out there to like ensure her safety or whatever asks explicitly, Like, she has to confirm that she is a virgin or she will not qualify for the selection. Double whammy on top of that, after validating this, he says, hey, also, by the way, it would probably be in your best interest. Like, I'm telling you, you should go along with whatever the prince wants to do. Don't reject him under any circumstances. This makes her feel disgusting. And she's like, what am I getting myself into? Now this is even more of a disgusting process that they're going to bring these 35 girls in, young women. I need to get better about saying that. They're going to bring in these 35 young women to be the prince's like playthings over this next time for him to pick a wife. Like, this is freaking gross, right? And so she's kind of pissed off about now she's stuck in this situation, right? That night, after it's announced of her being picked up, Aspen comes by. This is the first time that they've talked since he broke up with her in the treehouse. And he's like knocking on her window late at night, and he comes in and they have a talk. And he's like, hey, I'm so sorry. I was really scared that if I got drafted for the army, I'd have to leave for 2 years, because if they get picked up, it's like a 2-year minimum stint and then a whole thing. But also, if you get picked up, if in the draft and you're one of like the randomly selected in the draft, they go and train. I think it's a 2-year minimum, but then they are cast 2 for the rest of their lives or something. Like, it's actually a pretty beneficial thing if you're picked and are able to survive the war and all these other things. So he just didn't want her to have to wait for him. And so he's like, no, seriously, I'm so sorry. I had to break up with you. And she's like, I don't care about your excuses. I don't care about anything that you have to say. You made me sign up for the selection, and now I have to do this terrible, horrible thing because you made me do it. And then she like shakes all the pennies out of the jar and gives it back to him, except one particular penny that stays glued at the bottom of the jar. It's relevant, I promise. So next day, she's going to her send-off, right? She's the representation for Carolina. Go to the, I don't know, whatever the airport is, to go and get picked up and taken to Angeles. Totally. On the way there, you know, she's saying goodbye to people and, you know, trying to shake hands and make a good impression. And she's in the spotlight, and it's this like whole thing. And it's really messing with her mind, already seeing how drastically different her life is. While she's looking in the crowd, seeing everybody, Aspen is there with his arm around another girl's waist, smiling at each other. And she said, oh my God, I can't believe this guy. I'm so happy I'm going to the selection because I need to get away from him, as far away from him as I possibly can. Girl. Okay, again, keep in mind, she's, I think, 17 years old. So, like, I'm not surprised by what's happening right now, but good God. She gets picked up in a car. She's going to go and hop on the airplane to go fly out there. And she meets a couple of the other contestants. There's one named Celeste, who is and will be for the remainder of this like super catty woman. I think she's like 22, throwing people under the bus, like absolutely cutthroat. Like, she is the antagonist like between the girls, right? She's going to be the drama queen, the Beezy of the group, because there always has to be one, right? We get introduced to her, and we also get introduced to a girl named Marlee. Also for note, Celeste is a 2 and she's a model. And then Marlee becomes America's best friend. And she is a 4, I believe. I believe she's like a farmer or a factory worker or something like that. And like I believe her family are farmers. And so she's a little bit closer in terms of like caste relation with America. They bond immediately, BFFs off the bat, and they will continue to be BFFs for the rest of this. Like I said, there are 35 girls in this competition. If I do decide to put up the PowerPoint, I only have a select few of them up here for reference, because 35 is a lot of people, okay? You're going to hear about 6 names, and that's it. I'm not playing that game with you today, okay? Celeste and Marlee are one of them. These are going to be recurring characters through the book, so we're just making note of them now, okay? On the plane, they fly out there, they land. They are greeted by crowds, masses of people. This is a huge deal for the country. I don't know. This is like their entertainment. It's a huge deal. This is literally going to be the next queen of the country, right? Like they're very, very invested in these girls and who they are. So they're all greeting them. She's overwhelmed. She doesn't want to do this. She's like, I don't think I'm cut out for this. And I'm going to say that a lot, by the way. I don't think I'm cut out for this. Gets said so many times. There's a lot of this. Again, I say this having read all 3 books at this point. We could have done a book and a half with the amount of like repetition that happens here, okay? Like the wishy-washy back and forth bullshit is so bad. So anytime you hear me do, oh my God, that voice, that's something that I had to read at least 87 times. I want you to be aware of that. I'm not cut out for this. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But then she's looking in the crowd and there's a girl with red hair holding a sign, America, win for the redheads. Of course America's a redhead. Of course. I can't believe I didn't tell you that sooner. Yes. She's a redhead. She's not like other girls. And this book is like quite literally like the blueprint of every cliche, 2010s book that you could possibly imagine, right? Like every single one of those boxes is about to get checked. Her being a redhead is one of them. So she sees this little girl holding this sign and she's like, yeah, I will represent the redheads, and goes over and like signs it. So the crowd is like, oh my God, she's so friendly. She's so amazing. We love America. Go America. This is great. She's like immediately the fan favorite. We're in chapter 9 now. I'm trying to go through this fast. I don't think I'm going to be able to. I think I yap too much. All of the girls arrive at the palace. And this is where we get it like drilled into our heads so bad about this whole, I'm not like other girls, because they have their makeovers. These 35, young women show up. They're going to be like, we're going to cut your hair, we're going to dye it, we're going to do this, and here's your clothes and your jewelry, and here's everything. And they're going to make everybody look so freaking beautiful. And of course, she's not like other girls. I don't want makeup. I don't want jewelry. I love my hair the way that it is, and I want to wear super normal clothes and be demure and classy. I don't want to be flashy and gross, and I want to be able to recognize myself when I look in the mirror. Okay. Also, this is like the most richest, lavishest, amazingest way that you're ever going to be treated for the rest of your life, girl. You might as well live it up for a minute. Okay, whatever. Not like other girls. Okay, so this happened. The girls are just hanging out this night. They're going to meet Maxon, the prince, the following day. She's going about her business. She gets a tour of the palace. They're told that they're not allowed to go outside under any circumstances. There's a garden that they can go to if they have like explicit permission and like somebody with them, basically. But they are not allowed to leave the castle because there's a bunch of rebels that are attacking constantly. I'm not sure what kind of security measures that we have, but the amount of times that this castle gets raided by rebels is absolutely insane, and we're going to find that out together as we go here. But there's two rebels. There's the Northerners and the Southerners. The Southerners are super uber violent, just there to cause chaos and just be like anti the kingdom and anti the current like government ways. And then the Northerners raid the castle, but they're like looking for something. Like they're not violent. They're not there to really like hurt anybody. They're in there to find something. I wonder what it could be. We get a tour of the palace. America goes to her room. She meets her maids. She has like 3 dedicated maids that are up there like supporting her and everything. And she hates this. She's like, I don't like being waited hand on foot. She's like, this feels so weird. The way they're talking to me feels so like weird. I'm just a girl. I'm just a totally normal girl. I don't need all of this treatment. So she kicks them out and she's just like sitting there and she's thinking about how different everything is and how she just can't fathom that she's in this selection. And she's like, I can't do this. I don't think I can do it anymore. And so she like runs out of the castle. Hello? Obviously she gets stopped and the guards are like, hey, little lady, we just told you you're not allowed to leave. There is a huge list of rules. I think I have it written down in my PowerPoint. If I can find my notes on here. Dude, the rules for the selection is like genuinely freaking insane. Oh yeah, here you go. Here's some rules. The contestant cannot leave the palace. And this is from, there's a whole like, is it Fandompedia or like the fandom Wikipedia? There's a whole thing for the selection, okay? So I pulled this directly from there. So the contestant cannot leave the palace The contestant cannot leave the palace unless the prince approves it. Like, you cannot go home, which is honestly pretty crazy. There's no timeline, so the selection could last a couple of days. The prince could just meet them and immediately be like, you're the one for me, and kick everybody else out. Or it could last years for him to decide who he wants to marry. The contestant cannot like schedule a time to hang out with the prince. The prince has to reach out and schedule it with them or like have them come to him or whatever. You can't fight or sabotage other contestants. And you can only have, oh my God, there's so many. You can only have romantic relationships with the prince, and if you're caught in a relationship with someone else, it's considered treason. Hello? It's considered treason and is punishable by death. If you're found breaking any of Ilia's written laws, you will be punished. And then the stuff about the food and clothes, like you can only do or have whatever the palace provides you. Yeah. And then the other rules, it's stuff that I've pretty much already mentioned about like your caste being upgraded and your family being compensated and other stuff like that. So it's a lot, right? And so hearing all of this and kind of reflecting on all of these rules, she's like, oh my God, I'm trapped. I want to get out of here. Tries to leave the castle. They stop her. And then all of a sudden a voice, appears or whatever and says, let her go. So they open up the door. It's to the gardens. And so she steps outside. And it's Prince Maxon. And he's like, hey, girl, you okay? What's going on here? And she yells at him. She's like, I can't believe that you would do this and you would keep us all here like a cage. Like, is this really how you think you're going to find a wife? You force all these girls to be here? I'm like, girl, you applied. What do you mean? You submitted the thing. He didn't have anything to do with this, but sure. She's like, you really think you're going to be able to find a wife like this? Like, you're a monster. And he's like, well, I don't really have a choice and my parents are pretty happy and they met through the selection, so yeah, I'm hoping I can find a wife through this. And he's like just very kind and he's just very kind and like supportive and like understanding of what she's saying, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, he's like, hey, I hope you find something in this cage worth fighting for. What an odd thing to say, by the way. And then gives her some privacy so she can just kind of like hang out. She does. She collects herself. She goes back to her room. And the next morning, they have breakfast. And the whole time, like all of the girls go down there to have breakfast. And this is the first time that they're going to meet Maxon formally. And he's going to spend like 5 minutes with each of the girls before breakfast. America, the whole time, she's like, oh my God, I think he's gonna like kick me out immediately. I can't believe I already ruined my chances. I can't believe that I effed this up so badly. So he's going around having his conversations, which also I'm like, even if he spent 5 minutes with 35 girls, that's a lot of time, bro. Let me eat my eggs. So they're having a chit chat. He comes around, he talks to America, and she apologizes for yelling at him. And he says, hey, it's okay. Thanks for being upfront with me about your feelings. But also, like, if you don't want to be here, I don't want you to stay. Like, I'm not going to keep you here. And she's like, well, I mean, I do kind of want to stay. And he's like, okay, but do you think you could love me if you stayed? Like, you sounded pretty pissed off yesterday. Like, are you going to actually, like, compete here? She's like, I can't. My heart is elsewhere. But I do want to stay so that my family can get money. She says that out loud to him. And he says, yeah, I understand that. Thanks for being honest with me. And she's like, hey, since I can't really offer you a relationship, what if you mentioned, last night in the garden, they had a little bit more of a conversation. She's like, you mentioned how you don't really have a friend and you don't really have support here. So what if like I become your confidant and really kind of, I can be like a spy for you for these girls and I can like really try to help you find your wife. Like you keep me here as part of the selection. I'll give you some insider information on the girls and we can just, do that. Like you let me stay here and I'll help you out. And he says, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that. They go off to breakfast. 8 girls are asked to stay behind with him, and those 8 girls are gone. Off the bat. Just like that. We're down to 27 girls. In chapter 12, during breakfast, America is eating, and it is so good. Like, unfathomably good. To the point that, like, she is making noises, like, kind of embarrassingly. And even though they had a table manners lesson, she's, like, kind of throws it to the wayside a little bit because this is so, like, life-changingly delicious of a Danish or whatever the hell she's eating. To the point that Prince Maxon calls her out directly, and he says, America, are you enjoying yourself? And her, like, mouth's full. She's like, there's, like, crumbs everywhere. She's like, yeah, this is really good. I think if, like, my little sister, if she were to try this, she would cry. And he says, oh, really? Like, I'd be willing to make a bet on that. How about we have some of these, pastries go out to your sister, and if she eats it, if she cries, you can wear pants. Hello? Part of their discussion in the garden was, like, dressing the girls up and having to wear dresses. And again, I'm not like other girls. I want to wear pants. And so his wager is like, if your sister cries, I'll get you some pants. And if she doesn't cry, you have to go on a date with me. And he proposes this in front of everybody, in front of all of the other contestants, in front of his parents. This is crazy. Being called out so directly on like day one, morning one, okay? America says, okay, I mean, yeah, let's do it. And this is a huge deal because this would mean she would be the first one to have a date with Maxon. So I don't really understand how fast this happens because it's like, it's pretty fast where all of a sudden they already know, like May had the pastry and she didn't cry. May is the little sister, by the way, had the pastry, didn't cry. So now she has to go on this date with Maxon and they go on this like walk and stuff. But I'm like, Carolina, she's across the, hey, they're rich. I don't know why I'm questioning it. They probably could have had that stuff instantly on a plane and like immediately to their house within like 4 hours. I don't know why I'm trying to act like this is normal people timelines here. So anyway, May does not cry. So they're going to go on their date. So they go for a walk in the gardens and he dismisses the guards and the cameras because yes, there are cameras everywhere. This is quite literally the Bachelor or Bachelorette or whatever for this country, right? Like these people are like invested in being filmed and being interviewed, and that weekly news report from the government is now going to have an entire section of it dedicated to updates on how the selection is going. And so there are people and cameras everywhere to like take photographs and write news articles and put them up on the report and all this other crap, right? He dismisses all of them so that they can have a moment of privacy. When she realizes how alone they are in the garden, she starts thinking back to what that creepy guy said when he was at her house giving her the like food and vitamins and stuff about how like she's not to reject the prince under any circumstances, and she's afraid that he's gonna like try to get frisky or try to like do something to her. And so he gets close to her to like whisper something in her ear, and she knees him in the groin. She's like, I'm going down with a fight, like screw you, screw this, screw everything. Knees him in the groin. He doubles over. He's upset about this, understandably so. And he's like, what did you do that for? And she's like, I thought you were going to try to do something with me. And he's like, you think I'm that kind of guy? Like, why would you think so poorly of me? And obviously the guards come because they hear a commotion, and she gets dismissed, ends abruptly, like date totally over, total mood kill. And she goes back up to her bedroom. Her maids are in there, and there's a box on the bed. It was this like special delivery from the prince, but they were, you know, respecting her privacy, so they didn't open it. But they're like, please, 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 we have to know what's inside the box. What's in the box? They open it. It's 3 pairs of pants. So even though she didn't win the bet, he's super cool and super nice, and he gave her pants. Awesome. So the morning after their date, she is convinced that he is for sure going to send her home this time around. And so they go to breakfast, and the girls are trying to be little gossipies, and they're asking about how the date went. But before she can really answer or give any type of information, not that she would give any because she's horrified about what she did, she cannot answer them because the rebels attack. Because the rebels attack. Already, the selection's been here for 2 days, and the rebels are already attacking. And so they get like escorted into these like secret tunnels to go underground to like, you know what I mean, like a little bunker mode to be safe and stuff. So she gets down there. The girls are freaking out. Like there's a lot of girls that are like absolutely losing their minds. And so she looks over to her friend Marlee, who I mentioned earlier, and she says, girl, you gotta lock in. You have to be professional right now. Look at how the queen and the king are reacting. You see that? You need to tighten it up, dry the tears, be respectable right now. Like you have to be able to like operate under high pressure environments and stuff. So she's like really looking out for pets so she does. She's like pets her little eyes, gets it together. And they're helping the other girls kind of cope with this very scary situation. Maxon is making his rounds, trying to like comfort everybody. And when he comes to America, he explains to her about the Northerner and Southerners, like rebels and the rebel attacks and stuff that I mentioned earlier, right? Northerners being not as violent, looking for something, Southerners being like uber violent and just like causing chaos. And they never really know which one it is until after the rebel attack is over. Again, the security here sucks. That's all I'm going to say about that. After they get cleared, the rebels have been subdued or whatever, she goes back up to her room. Her maids, one of them is like in absolute hysterics because like 2 years ago during a rebel attack, she had gotten caught by one of the rebels and like they had traumatized her in some way. it wasn't like, I don't think she got explicitly anything, but there was like implication of intentions of what he was going to do to her. And then one of the guards like came around the corner and killed him. And so then she had like a dead body on top of her. Really traumatic stuff. Okay. So anytime that there's a rebel attack, a homegirl is like inconsolable, like complete like PTSD episode. You know what I'm saying? Her seeing this, America witnessing this, she's like, I have to do everything that I can to protect my maids in the future. I didn't even think about them, right? Like she's realizing how selfish, I guess you could call it selfish, that she was during this. And just like, I think just the realization of how unprotected they are, right? Like the royal family and whatever, the whole castle only care about the royal people. Like they don't care about, you know, the quote unquote like help. So she makes a note of this to protect her maids during future attacks. And then she's just sitting there wondering like how often these happen that they don't tell the people about. Like how often is this happening that, you know, nobody has any idea of. Shortly after or next day, dude, honestly, time's an illusion. It doesn't really matter. I'm pretty sure this entire book happens over the course of like 2 months max, okay? Maxon comes and visits her in her room and he says, hey, girly pop, since, you know, we're friends and this isn't like a traditional, you know, relationship or whatever, I think we should have a secret signal to talk. Like if we need to sync up on something, I don't want it to be a formal date. I just want to be able to like have a conversation with you. Let's have a little secret indicator, which they're going to like tug on their ears. And that's how they will signal to each other that they are going to like meet later that night or meet after dinner and have a little unofficial date chat thing. Okay. Cute, I guess. Come Friday, they're having the Capitol report. And this is the first time that the girls will be there and like kind of be on display during it. So it ends up being they're going to like host it from the castle. There's a guy there that does interviews. He's going to interview the prince and see how he's feeling. And then they're going to like call down some of the girls later to get to know them. And that's how they're going to be introduced to, you know, the masses. And so this is a really good opportunity for them to look, again, extra super uber fancy because you're going to be displayed live to the country. So everybody gets dressed to the nines, except for our girl America, because she's not like other girls. And everybody's dressed in these vibrant, like sexy reds and beautiful greens. And she decides to wear blue. Okay. And no one else is wearing blue like her. That's her color. Okay. Sure. During the report, she looks up and looks at the prince, and then he tugs on his ear, and she tugs back, and she's so excited because she knows that means that they're going to talk later. And then the interview guy talks to Maxon, and he's like, so Maxon, you know, obviously he doesn't say that. He says, Your Majesty, how's it going? You know, how's it going with the girls? Like, have they all been, you know, sweet, gentle ladies? And he's like, oh no, one of the girls yelled at me on the first day here. And it's like giggles erupt everywhere. And it's a whole thing. Like Maxon's a little flirty banter, okay? Inadvertent, but like he is very, very amused by how, not crass, not brash. Hello? What word am I trying to think of? I don't know. Just how like straightforward America is with everything and how like explicit and maybe not very ladylike that she is. He's fascinated by it. He's really into it, okay? Let's not lie to each other. He's really into it. So he makes this joke on television. Everybody's like, oh my God, who could it be? Who would have yelled at him? And the guy's like, so are you going to kick her out then for yelling at you? He says, no, I think I'm going to keep her here for a while. Okay. They go to dinner. Afterward, he comes and visits her to get her to go on their walk to have a little chat. As they're walking through the halls, Celeste, right, the super Beezy one, and a couple other girls see that she's with him, and then there's like obviously daggers, and they're so jealous, and everybody can't believe it because that means that she's had 2 dates with Maxon. That's absolutely crazy because there's like a bunch of girls that haven't even had 1 date with him yet. And this freaking, what is she, a 5? This freaking 5 from the middle of nowhere, freaking low caste girl is having all these dates with a prince. What's so good about her, I guess? So her and the prince, they're going on their walk. They're having a chit chat. And he's like, hey, so can you, like, what about your where's your heart at? What were you talking about? She's like, you don't want to hear it. And he's like, no, really, I do. He's like, you know, I don't really leave the castle. I don't really hear anything. So if there's somebody that you loved, like, I want to hear a true love story because the only one that I know of is my parents. And so she opens up to him. about Aspen and, you know, how they had met and they grew up together, but then blah, 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 blah. Eventually they realized, I don't know, that they were cool and started talking and I don't know, started meeting in secret. And then talking about him breaking up with her and then him being with another girl when she left. And so she doesn't want to go home because she's like, I just can't face him. I cannot do it. I can't face him with his new girl, okay? And so Maxon's like, okay, dude, understood. Thanks for sharing with me. I'll keep you here up until the last possible moment. And then he like hugs and comforts her and it's a whole thing, okay? Dude's down bad. Let's not lie to each other right now about what's happening. We're on chapter 16, by the way. We are about halfway through book number 1. She is hanging out in the women's room, which is, as you would imagine, a women's only room. This is mostly where like the queen goes and all of the girls go to like hang out and have privacy and there's literally no men allowed. I don't know. Is that a thing? Not sure. But they're there hanging out and then this is where all the girls are having the really grumpy ones that haven't been on a date yet. And all the ones that are like happy and everybody's kind of like comparing notes a little bit about who's done what and gone where and met who and blah, blah, blah. What have you seen in the castle and met Maxon and everything? In the middle of all of this and the girls little chattering, hanging out, all of a sudden, Celeste, the Beezy, she gets slapped by this girl named Anna, who is a 4. She's very kind. She's like so peaceful. She's non-confrontational. She's just like minding her own business. Nobody's ever had a problem with her. All of a sudden, she is like in a fight with Celeste, bitch slaps her. And then they know, all of the girls know that Celeste is a freaking monster and that she's like torturing the girls here and she's like being so rude to everybody and that she must have provoked Anna. But nobody was there to hear the conversation. Like nobody was around them. And so Anna is gone before dinner. Gulp. That's not good. In chapter 17, there is a woman named Sylvia. I don't know if I'm going to say these names again, but just go with it, okay? There's a woman named Sylvia who's like in charge of training the girls and like getting them up to speed on like, you know, manners and guiding them, I guess, basically through this like whole selection process. And so on this particular day, she's giving them like a history lesson. So this is where we learn a lot of the lore that I gave you earlier. But it's not really a lesson so much as it is a quiz where she's just trying to figure out where the girls' knowledge is. And everybody knows a little different. Like everybody's heard the history of the United States and the history of Ilia and in like a different version of it. Because again, none of it is written down. And the girls are kind of upset about this. And they're like, hey, could we have like a packet? Like, can we study something? Like, can you anything? And Sylvia's response is history isn't something they study or like history isn't something you study. History is something that you should just know. What does that mean? That is not how learning works. Again, it happens for a reason so that they can change history, right? If you don't write it down, there's no evidence of it, then whoever's in charge can just say whatever they want, right? And that's the new reality. Really, really dangerous stuff. So the next day, the girls have a photo shoot with Maxon. Really, this is going to end up being like a popularity contest type photo shoot where their photos are going to go out and be published in these magazines and they're going to be judged for how well they compliment Maxon, which is like, again, just kind of gross. In the middle of his pictures with America, one of the guards comes over to tell Maxon about some rebel update, that the rebels are, you know, making their way through the country, setting crops on fire, causing a bunch of trouble. You know, Maxon allows her to hear this and makes her promise that she won't share any of this information. She says, aye, Captain, I guess. And they go on about their ways. She's doing something, I don't know what. I think she's like in the women's room just vibing and she wants to see Maxon. And so she writes him a note for one of the maids to bring him that just says, I'm tugging on my ear. And so he'll know what that means. And so he comes down and he's like, oh my God, are you okay? What's going on? And she's like, I just wanted to see you. He says, okay, what's up? Thanks for interrupting my meeting. Like genuinely, thanks for interrupting my meeting. I'm glad to be out here. I hate the meetings about money. And then talking about money leads to her explaining to him how difficult it is for the lower castes. And they have this like almost philosophical discussion about criminals and what leads to crime. And honestly, kind of like the basis of it and like what it boils down to is like food And these people maybe wouldn't be committing so many crimes if they were like well fed and had a level of safety and comfort in their lives. Like they would be less inclined to be committing crimes and doing these things. And he does not want to have this discussion. Like this very, very clearly makes Maxon uncomfortable because, hey, turns out when you're in the ivory tower, you don't really like to see the reality of the world. You like to just continue to live in your little bubble, right? So she continues to push though. And she's like, hey, no, seriously, like you need to understand how hard the lower castes have it. Like they don't have access to education. They don't have regular access to food. Like it's incredibly difficult. She's like, there were times when I was growing up that we had to choose between food or electricity, and we were 5s. She's like, I can't even imagine what the 6, 7, and 8s had to do. Like it would be even worse for them. And when she makes that like confession to him, he was like, oh my God, you weren't kidding. You're literally just here so that your family can eat. Like you're literally just here for the money for your family. She says, yeah, I wasn't being dramatic. I wasn't trying to be cute. I was telling you the reality of the situation, homie. Like this is life-changing for my family just to be here for a week. And so he gets really, really upset by this. And so he like storms away. Later that night, before dinner, he interrupts and he says, girls, I have an announcement. If you are a caste 2 or 3, you will no longer receive financing. Like your family will not continue to receive a stipend. And if you are in the 4s or 5s, you will continue to receive compensation, but at a lower rate. Keep in mind, there's no 6, 7, or 8s that are in the selection. Isn't that convenient? So they're going to receive less. And he apologizes. He's like, don't worry, guys. Like, I'll tell you on the report. This will make more sense later, but I appreciate your sacrifice. You know, thanks for understanding. Okay. So they go to get ready for the report. Of course, all of the girls this time around wear blue because they want to be like America because she is so loved and very clearly Maxon has a crush on her. So she decides to wear red because everyone else is going to wear blue and she wants to stick out. And her maids like really have her back. Because she's cool with them and she's nice to them and stuff. And obviously all of the maids, like all of the workers in the castle all talk to each other. Like they all have their own, you know, cliques and groups and communications and stuff. And so all of the maids know what everyone else is wearing. And so her maids down when they're doing all the sewing stuff and getting all the material to create the outfits, they realize all of the like swaths of blue fabric are gone. And so they're like, oh, hey, America, we're going to put you in red and we're going to make you look like a baddie. They do. She shows up. She is stunning. She sticks out like crazy in a good way. Obviously, this pisses off Celeste. So Celeste corners America. She says, take off your dress. Like literally rips I just pulled my own hair. Rips America's sleeve off. She like scratches the shit out of her. It just like monster level, like Beezy, okay? Just very, very rude and attacks her. Nobody else sees it though, of course, because God forbid. So she just like gets it together. They go there up to their seating that they have. And the girls that America sits around, they like help tuck her sleeve in so it doesn't look like it got messed up as bad, right? And then luckily the scratches that she has is on like the right side of her face. And it's like the left side is what would be toward the cameras or something like that. So she's just going to act like this attack thing didn't happen. Sure. During the report, Prince Maxon announces that all of the selection women have, you know, made the sacrifice to give up their stipends to be able to put money toward a public assistance, like food bank, essentially. It's going to be funded with the girls' stipends. Instead of them getting it and their families, it's going to go into this thing to basically fund a food pantry that would be available for any 5, 6, 7, or 8. This is huge. And so she is like so incredibly thankful. She like can't fathom this. Like, oh my God, this is so kind of him. And I'm just like, oh, that's all it took. That's all it took to not be starving your people out. I love that so much. I love how easy it is. Turns out it's actually really easy to like treat people right. Hey, turns out when there's like unlimited amounts of money, you actually could, I don't know, maybe like feed your country and not be shitty. Weird concept. A couple of the girls gets called up to do interviews. She gets called up and each of the girls are asked, like the very last question that the guy asks is, are you the girl who yelled at Maxon? She admits that she was. You know, there's a bunch of giggles. She goes on, you know, he cracks a joke back, Maxon does from his seat. And he's like, tell them the story. I don't know. They make light of it. It's a good time. Then he asks, how would she describe Prince Maxon? All of the girls got asked these same questions, and all the other girls were like, he's nice, he's handsome, he's cool. And she decides that she wants to answer differently because she does want to like stick out, but also she realizes how important this moment is. And so she just wants to be honest, and she doesn't want to like, for Maxon to be so lighthearted about her yelling at him and to be so forgiving and to be like helping her out and helping out all these other people, she doesn't want to make fun of him and she doesn't want to like damage their relationship. And he has done some really good things. And so when she's asked this question, she's like spent this whole report putting some thought into it. And her answer is that Prince Maxon is the epitome of all things good. He will be a phenomenal king. And no matter what happens in the selection, she will be honored to be his subject. What an adorable answer. So after the report, right, remember they tugged ears earlier, they meet in the garden, they have a chit chat, and they share their first kiss. Aww. It's also Prince Maxon's first kiss ever. So cute. Okay, and it's actually like, it was really, really tender because it was incredibly awkward at first because she wasn't really expecting him to kiss her because she's like, we said that we weren't going to do that. And so that he immediately regrets it. And she's like, no, I liked it. Like, let's take it back. And so she like wipes his forehead to erase the memory. And then they like recreate it and have an actual first kiss. That's cute. It's genuinely such a cute scene. And if I would have read that in high school, I would have like lost my shit over that. Okay. Like, I'm going to be honest. Okay. I see why people loved this in middle school and high school. 100%. I get it. They have this kiss and he says, you know, hey, is there any chance that like you could develop feelings for me? Like, is it possible? Is it possible that you would be interested in being here and doing this selection thing, like for real? And to her own amazement, she says, yeah, it is possible. Oh my God. However much time passes later, she's in the women's room hanging out with all the girly pops. And one of the girls comes in and she says, oh my God, I kissed Maxon. And America's jealous. Of course she is. She's like, oh, here I was thinking that I was special, but apparently I'm not. And this makes her realize that they're all going through this together. Like, she experiences empathy for the first time in her life, I guess. And she's like, oh my God, we're all here and our experiences are different and we're all here for different reasons, but at least we're going through this together. Like I'm 14 and this is deep stuff, you know? And then there's an announcement about the king and queen of Swedenway or Swendway. Hey, so why did that country get redone? Is that Sweden and Norway? I'm assuming they merged for some godforsaken reason during one of the world wars. I didn't know they were involved. I guess they probably would have been if Russia was acting up. But still, like, I don't know. I'm not getting into it. It's funny. So Swendway. I don't know. They're going to visit. What does any of this matter? It really doesn't, other than the fact that the queen, her family comes to like help support or help like, I don't know, show out basically to the king and queen of Swendway when they come and visit. And we get introduced to like the queen's sister, and she's like, basically she's super vulgar and she's like a drunk and says a bunch of like inappropriate things. And all the girls are like, oh my God, I can't believe that the queen would let her sister be here if she acts this way. And America is like, would I have to have my family change? Like if I got selected, would I have to, I couldn't have my family around. Like my family's pretty not fancy, you know, we're just a bunch of five. So am I cut out for this? Am I cut out to be the princess? I think is the purpose of this chapter. And then it also gets introduced the idea of there was a lot of failed pregnancies between the king and queen, and Maxon is their only child, and like how near and dear he is to their heart, and how the queen is keeping her distance from the girls because she wants a daughter so badly, and she doesn't want to get close to any of the girls if they're just going to leave. And so this makes America realize how much that she wants to be a part of the royal family, I guess. And so she's like, I am going to give Maxon a chance. Okay. Hey, I mean, sure, whatever it takes to convince you, I suppose. We're going into chapter 20. There's only 5 chapters left. In chapter 20, more time has passed, and this time around, the competition has like evolved to the point that Marlee, right? Remember her? She's she's like America's best friend. She's the front runner. She's like the most popular one in terms of like the society, country as a whole. They like her the best. But she opens up to America and she's like, I just don't feel like a spark. I just don't have any, like, I don't have any feelings for Maxon. But I think I'm only here because I'm popular. Like, Maxon and I don't really talk. Like, we literally just go and like watch movies together. We don't have any connection like that. But also, she's like, I don't really want to go home either. So this is all really complicated and bad. America's like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, I have my own complicated relationship with him, but I don't know what your problem is, but okay, I guess. And then she ends up going on a date with the king yet again. And America and the king, not the king. Whoa, that would be crazy. America and Prince Maxon go on another date and they're walking through the halls together and they turn a corner and there's a bunch of guards there, right? A bunch of the palace guards are collected. This is like a bunch of the new recruits. They say hello and she ends up walking directly up to, into, next to, sees, I don't know, put your preposition of your choice there. One of the new palace guards is Aspen, her boyfriend of 2 years that broke up with her. The whole reason that she's here, the whole reason that she is wanting to stay in the selection process so that she can stay away from him, he's a palace guard. The second that she decides that she's going to give this a real shot to try to be with Maxon, Aspen shows up. That sucks. So she has like a visceral reaction to seeing Aspen. Prince Maxon picks up on it. He's like, do y'all know each other? She says, yeah, he's from Carolina. He's from my hometown. Prince Maxon says, oh my God, that's so great. I'm so glad that you guys know each other. Hey, Officer Aspen, his last name's Ledger or something stupid like that. I'm just going to say Aspen for the ease of our conversation here, okay? But just know that that's not what he actually says. You know, hey, Officer Aspen, if you know America so well, that's so great. I'm going to assign you specific or special guard duty to stand outside of her room and keep an eye on her because she keeps kicking her maids out in the middle of the night and she doesn't want her maids around and she needs to be protected. So you're going to be her dedicated guard. Oh no. Oh no. And America is sitting here as she goes on her date with Prince Maxon and she's like, thank freaking God I did not tell the prince my ex-boyfriend's name because that would be so awkward. She's like, thank goodness. And now I never am. And I can never admit to Prince Maxon who Aspen is or officer, whatever. Like my ex-boyfriend, she's like, he can never put it together that that's who he is because Prince Maxon was really upset that anybody would treat me that way. And I know that he would be, you know, really upset or treat Aspen like crap. So I have to take this secret to my grave. Okay. And so now she's also thinking to herself about like what she can do to avoid Aspen. And she is almost considering leaving the palace again. This wishy-washy freaking girl, I swear to God. She's like, well, I need to leave because I can't bear to face him. I wonder if my family would be okay, if they've collected enough money, if it would be okay if I left this election. But also, what would that mean for my relationship with Maxon? It would end. What do you mean what would happen with your relationship with Maxon? Girl, just, okay. It's fine. It doesn't have to make sense. We're just here for fun. In chapter 21, one of the girls named Kriss. I have not talked about her at all. She has a picture on my PowerPoint. Are you seeing the PowerPoint? I don't know. Kriss, her birthday's coming up. And Prince Maxon wants to throw her a birthday party. And he does. And it's beautiful. And it's opulent. And America decides that she's going to play violin for her. Yeah, there's a whole quartet. And so she like tries to put her violin away, but they're like, no, America, play for us. She goes up there. She's playing violin. It's beautiful. It's amazing. And for a moment as she's playing, there is no selection. There is no Kriss. There is no Aspen. There is no Maxon. It's just her and her violin and her talent, I guess, and beauty and love for the game, love for the music. She's like, this was meant to be a gift for Kriss, but this is more of a gift for me. Girl, you can play violin at any point. You got a piano in your room. Why is this such a monumental moment? I don't know. But she stops playing. She looks up, opens her eyes finally, and Prince Maxon had entered the room to celebrate the birthday party. And he's looking at her, and he is just awestruck by her beauty and by her passion or whatever. I don't know. She sees Maxon. Again, he like had entered while she was playing, and so she acknowledges him. And she's like, oh, Your Majesty, does a little curtsy thing. And then all the girls are like, oh my God, Prince Maxon. Everybody like stands up to rush over to him or to acknowledge him and whatever. And in the process, Celeste, the Beezy girl, just so happens accidentally to spill a whole glass of wine on Kriss's, the birthday girl's, dress. Conveniently. So Kriss starts sobbing and like sprints out of the room, and then Maxon goes to comfort her. And everybody's like, Celeste, WTF, dude, why would you do that? And she's like, it was an accident. It was an accident. It was not an accident. And America, after this, when she goes and sees Maxon next, she's like, hey, Maxon, for real, Celeste is a freaking terrorist. Like, she is ruining all of these girls. Like, she spilt that on her on purpose. She provoked Anna. She's just being a monster, and like, you have to get rid of her. And Maxon freaks out on America. He's like, you can't tell me what to do. You don't have to agree with my decisions, but you will abide by them. Oh, I guess that's how we talk to each other. And she starts to cry, and he just leaves the situation. I'm going to tell you something real quick. Maxon is incredibly sensitive to anybody telling him what to do. Kind of understandable if like his whole life is being controlled, this whole selection thing, and like being forced into this and being forced into being a king and like blah, 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 blah. Understandable why he would like take issue with people telling him what to do. And so it's like the second that any type of conversation turns that way, where somebody's trying to like convince him of something, his walls go up, he gets pissed off, he shuts it down. That's also part of the reason too why he was trying to shut down the conversation with America earlier about like poverty and criminals and like whatever, because she was like trying to change his opinion on something or kind of like sway him. So there was also like an added hesitance or reservation of him hearing her out. Like, he didn't want to hear her out because he's sensitive to people trying to make him feel some type of way or like have a certain opinion or make a certain choice. Hopefully that makes sense, right? So this, I hate using the term, but this like really triggered him, right? So he yells at her and then he storms off and she's just sitting there crying. And of course, he goes on about his day. Later that night, at dinner time, she looks up, she sees him, and he's tugging on his ear. And she doesn't respond because she's upset with him because he yelled at her, and also because he's just being rude. And she's like, he didn't believe me. Like, he's not taking me seriously about Celeste. Like, is he, so ignorant to her because she's so pretty and he just wants a bedmate? Yeah, she says bedmate. That's a quote. He's made it apparent that he doesn't want that and that he wants like a partner. So like, okay. You know what? It's fine. It's cool. She goes to her room after dinner, right? She did not tug her ear. She just is ignoring the prince. And she goes up to her room after dinner. And of course, when she turns the corner, waiting outside of her room is Aspen, her ex-boyfriend that is now a palace guard. And he's sitting there and he acknowledges her and he like opens her door for her. Back the F up. Opens her door for her. She goes inside. She's like, leave me alone. But of course, in the middle of the night, she wakes up to him and he is like on her bed and he says, do you love Maxon? She says, no. And then they start making out. Girl, you literally just told me you will be tried for treason if you have romantic relations with somebody in this situation, and also how sketchy that is in general, let alone when you're fighting for the prince's heart. And also when the prince tugged his ear and made it sound like he was going to like appear at your house, appear at your room at some point in the night, and you're going to be over here macking on a guard? Ugh, freaking teenage drama. I hate it so much. There's no like foresight or like whatever thought going into any of this. It's driving me crazy. And so, yeah, he's like making out with her in bed and they like want to go further, but she like feels guilty, but also she's so pissed off at Maxon, and Aspen feels so safe. And I hate how close their names are as I'm saying them back to back like this. Aspen is this like this safety. And then she's sitting there thinking, she's like, I know this is wrong and I'm breaking the rules, but if Celeste can break the rules because she's sabotaging other people, and that's one of the rules that you can't do that. If Celeste can break the rules and get away with it, there's nothing stopping me. There's death. What do you mean? Punishable by death, by the way. I feel like should be pretty, hey, maybe let's not do that. I feel like there's a difference between being kicked out of a competition and like getting punished. What are you talking about? Girl, just say you're horny and leave it at that, please. Don't be dumb with me right now. I'm so frustrated by her. She drives me crazy. She stops him though. They don't want to go any further or whatever. And Aspen goes out and continues guarding her room. The next day, she is feeling guilty and feeling upset because she's like, I do miss Aspen and I do love him still. And also I feel guilty because I'm trying to open my heart to Maxon. And this is just so freaking messy. Aspen pulls her aside at some point, or she's like in her room, and he excuses her maids or whatever and talks to her for a minute. And he says, you know, hey, I'm so sorry about the treehouse thing. I do really love you and I do want a future with you. And I was going to propose to you, but I was just so scared that I wasn't good enough for you. And she's like, yeah, is that why you moved on so fast? He says, babe, I wasn't hitting on that girl. I don't have another girlfriend. That girl is freaking klutzy as hell, and she tripped and fell over, and I caught her. You saw me after I caught her. That's why I ran after you, to clarify, to help you understand that I didn't do anything wrong. I was just helping her. And then before they can continue their conversation anymore, the maids come back in and he has to leave. Okay, just added layers of confusion here, I guess, in the world. And then, of course, in the middle of the night, there's another rebel attack. There's another rebel attack. And this time, though, she takes her maids with her because she understands one of them has this whole like PTSD thing, right? She grabs the maids. They're running down there. And the whole time they're like, hey, girl, they're not going to let us into the safe room with the royal family. Like, this is exclusive for them. She says, they can tell me no then. They're not going to. Come with me. And then she pushes back on all the guards and stuff that are arguing with her. And she's like, if they can't go in, I'm not going in. Good luck explaining that to the prince. And so then obviously they let them come in. And this is a huge deal, both to the impression of like all of the other castle workers and also to her maids, where they're realizing like her loyalty and her like commitment to helping the people and her commitment to like her staff. You know what I mean? Like, this is just very much evidence of her being a good, considerate person compared to some of the other contestants like Celeste that like beats her maids and yells at them constantly all the time. It's a huge, you know, I'm not like other girls moment where she really, really cares about her maids, okay? So this is a whole big deal. While down there, they're down there for a super, super long time. And it gets confirmed that the rebels this time were Southerners. They like completely ransack, destroy the castle. There's like just a mess absolutely everywhere. And it was a bad enough attack that they come around with a cell phone and make every one of the girls call their parents and their families to tell them that they are okay and that they survived. Good God, dude. Again, castle security, never heard of it. How does this keep happening? When she calls her mom and her sister and she's talking to them and they're like, her little sister specifically, she's like, it's too dangerous, America. Just come home, please. And she realizes that she can't because maybe she does love Maxon. Girl, okay. The morning after this attack, again, so brutal, so violent, Maxon comes in at breakfast and he says, hey, I don't feel comfortable keeping any of you here, like facing this like constant threat of violence and like putting all of your safety in jeopardy and all this other stuff if I am not 100% sure that we don't have like some sort of future together. And so he kicks out 19 girls. He only keeps the 6, which are the elite, is what they're known as. He makes this like massive cut of girls because of all these rebel attacks. And the ones who are left are obviously our girl America, her best friend Marlee, Kriss, which is the girl that had the birthday party and the wine spilt on her, 2 other girls that I haven't mentioned before, and nor will I really mention them ever again. And then Celeste the Beezy. Uh-oh. That's quite a mix of women. So he's made his selection of these girls. Obviously, the ones who were kicked out. He tells all of them this at breakfast. And then he's like, I'll be in the library if you want to come and talk to me. And so the 19 girls either like break out in tears or they go chasing after him to try to like fight for their place. Doesn't work. It's just really awkward and weird. But this is a huge shock to everybody. And then later that day, Maxon comes and visits her and he apologizes for yelling at her. And this is where he explains to her about the whole I'm being pressured from like everybody, from the public, from my dad, from advisors, you know, about who I should pick for the selection and who I need to keep. And he's like, I just couldn't stand to hear it from another person. Like, I need to be able to make my own decisions and like make decisions for myself. He's like, honestly, if it was up to me, I would have chosen you, America. I would have chosen you already because I know that I would be happy with you. But until you can tell me that you love me, I have to keep my choices open. Like I have to keep the selection going in case you decide that you can never love me. So please, like, just be honest with me. If you don't see a future with us, let us know now because I am falling in love with you. And she's like, I don't really know, but whatever this is between us, we're more than friends. And maybe it could turn into love. I don't know. And then they kiss. Chapter 25, the last chapter of book 1. Later that night, Aspen sneaks into America's room, right? Her ex-boyfriend, the guard guy. And he sneaks into her room again in the middle of the night. He like leaves the door open because that way if somebody walks by, he can be like, don't worry guys, I heard a noise. I was just checking on her. He tries to kiss her and she says, no, I'm here for Maxon and I can't date you or whatever this is while I'm trying to be a part of the selection. It's just not appropriate. You were literally macking on him like 2 days ago. You just send mixed signals everywhere. She's like, you really did break my heart in the treehouse, which like it is so hard to take that seriously. Like in the treehouse is taking me out of the story. I'm not going to lie to you. She's like, you really did break my heart and I have to make this decision for myself and I have to really try. I have to really be here. And Aspen says, okay, America, I support you, but I'm not giving up on you. I'm going to keep fighting for your heart. She says, okay, whatever. And then she goes to bed and then she wakes up the next morning with this like rejuvenated sense of purpose as she's really going to try for Maxon's heart, I guess, or to be a part of the selection, I suppose. But then I'm like, girl, if you want to be here, just tell him and you'll just be the princess. Why are we going through all this extra drama? Like, why are we going again? Why that question, by the way, why are we going through all this extra drama? There's two entire more books dedicated to going through all this extra drama. So anyway, that's book number 1. Let's get into book number 2. Okay, it's getting darker. I had to turn on the light. You can see it in the reflection here. No, you can't, okay? So book 2 opens. I mean, it's really kind of boring. It's just kind of like getting us back up to speed as if I didn't just tell you everything that just happened. Only thing to note is now that we are down to the elite, we have the remaining 6 girly pops. The queen is getting closer to them. She's like actually talking to them and acknowledging them and wanting to befriend them. And this first conversation that they have together is talking about their dream wedding. Like, what do you imagine it being like? And America never really thought about her wedding before because she's not like other girls. She only ever wanted like her dad to walk her down the aisle. Okay, cool. The only girl who is not like freaking out, fawning, talking about marrying the prince and like being all crazy about it is Marlee, America's best friend. And, you know, during this discussion, America decides to leave because it's getting awkward and she just like feels out of place. She leaves, and the second that she steps out of the room, she like turns a corner and walks directly into one of the palace guards. This one is Officer Woodwork. Okay, that's kind of weird. She's never really like ran into this guy before, but she's seen him around quite often. And this was also the guard that Marlee, on one of the times, they were outside in the garden doing something, and Marlee was like standing off over to the side in the sun, and she was talking to the guard, or she was like near him, and America had gone over and told her to get in the shade so she didn't get a sunburn, and Marlee was like, I'm okay where I am, I don't need to move. And America was like, oh, okay, Beezy, and then went up to her room. So that's interesting. This Officer Carter Woodwork, I wonder why he keeps coming up and keep coming around. It's kind of odd. America and Maxon go on a date sometime later. It's all an illusion here. They're on a date and she's made comments in the last book and she's making comments now about how she just doesn't really feel like she knows very much about Maxon, you know? And so at one point, he like rattled off all of his flaws, one of which being how he's getting so frustrated with the rebels raiding the castle all the time, which I don't really think that's a flaw. I don't think that's a personal flaw. I think that's a valid feeling. I'm not sure why you would say that. Okay. This time around, he is like, well, America, ask me anything. And so she says, what's Halloween? Again, I don't really think that's relevant to wanting to try to get to know your potentially future husband, but sure, we'll go with it. Halloween is just not a thing anymore. So whenever Ilya got established, and basically all the history books got burned and taken away, and everybody lost any type of form of education, and they became this weird puritanical Christian society thing going on, they stopped celebrating a lot of holidays. Halloween was one of the ones that went up on the chopping block. And America only knows about it because her family has like a handful of old history books at home, and she had read through them. And it's like, I don't want to say banned material, but pretty much banned material for anybody to have books. Like this is a big deal that she's even read one or knows any of this stuff. But she had remembered reading or hearing the word Halloween at some point. And so she asks Prince Maxon what it is. And he doesn't know. And so he says, I don't know, but let's go and find out together. And he says, come here, you have to keep this a secret. And they go like skedaddling through the castle. And then there's like a little secret entrance to this other secret little thing. And they end up in a room. And this room is lined with books and banned books. And there's even a computer in there and a bunch of maps. And so he goes on the computer, he looks up the word Halloween, he sees that it's mentioned in a couple of different things, he pulls them down. One of the things that mentions Halloween is the Diary of Gregory Ilya. He is the guy that was leading the country through World War IV and became the first king of Ilya, right? It was named after him. Okay, so his diary, they pull it out, they look through it a little bit, but they have to get out of there because nobody should know about this room, especially America. Like the only people who know about it are literally like the king, the queen, the prince, and then a handful of guards, and that's it. And so he says, we have to get out of here, but how about you take this diary and you can read about Halloween and you can read about all of this stuff later. Just make sure that you keep it a secret. She says, yeah, of course I will. And so she hides it in her piano bench in her room because maids are never going to go in there. And then we just move on. Okay. So cut to her and Marlee hanging out. They're talking. They're just having a little bit of girl time. And Marlee asks America pretty straight up of like, hey, like Maxon clearly loves you. Like, why do you keep pushing him away? And America is like, internally, she's like, I can't be open to her. I can't tell her that about Aspen and how I'm still torn for my feelings. So she just plays it off. And then it's very clear that Marlee is also keeping secrets from her and that they're both just like being kind of weird. And yeah, we're besties and we support each other, but also there's just something happening that we just don't want to talk about. And then they go on doing their own thing. She walks past Aspen in the hallway and he ends up like brushing like her arm or something, or their arms brush in passing, and it like sends a shock through her body. And she's like, I just don't know what to do. I don't know which one I love more. I don't know what the right answer is. No matter what choice I make, part of my world will be destroyed. Okay. Cut to, again, whenever magical time passing later, Maxon visits America in her room and he says, hey, I've been reading up about this Halloween thing. I think we should throw a Halloween party. Nobody has celebrated it in decades, and it sounds like really fun. Like, we should have everybody dress up and celebrate. And you know what? He's like, I think we should also have all of the families come. You know, like we're coming up on the point in the selection process where I have to meet the families anyway, and I'm sure you girls miss your families because it's been a month, I think now, maybe a little over a month. He's like, I know you guys miss them so much, so let's do that. And America is so happy. She's like, I can't believe he's literally like inventing a new holiday for me. Also, because it's like October, conveniently. And so she's like, I can't believe that he brings back this holiday for me and he's going to let me see my family because he knows I miss them. And he's just such a sweetheart. This is so amazing. I love him so much. He's so awesome. And again, she's just thinking about how wonderful a future with him would be, but how much she loves Maxon. Okay, I'm tired of, or how much she loves Aspen. I'm so tired of reading the same lines again and again and again. Cut to, it's time for Halloween. He reveals that one of the girls is gonna have to go home after the Halloween party. How awkward and crappy. That sucks. A week goes by. He says, okay, we're gonna celebrate in a week. It gives the castle time for any preparations, to get the families out there, for the girls to plan their Halloween costumes. Maxon does not visit her at all. He's spending a lot of time with all of the other girls, but he doesn't see America. And so she's like, I wonder if he hates me, if he's just distancing himself from me. And then all she's thinking is about Aspen and how he has just continued to tell her about how he'll always be there for her. Girl, get up. Get up. Cut to, families arrive. Everybody's so happy, so excited, so fun. Gives them a tour. Everybody's talking. You know, it's her little sister and then her mom and her dad. There's a point where she's giving her dad a tour of the castle and she tells him about the secret room. She tells him about having Gregory Ilya's diaries. Girl, you literally promised him that you wouldn't tell anybody. I know it's your dad. I know you love your dad so much, but like, what are we doing here? This is like, okay. So she tells her dad about this, and then he starts making some really weird comments about like, oh, I wonder what other secret passages are in the castle. I bet that there's like a vase somewhere that you could pull and it would go into some secret room. This is so crazy. Her dad is sketchy as shit. I'm just going to say that right now and put it out there. There's something afoot, because then he's all weird, sneaking around the castle by himself, like just moseying around in places he shouldn't be. Okay, so I'm just putting that out there now that's my game theory. Okay, families arrive, they're all doing their own thing, they have their own rooms, they get escorted there, and then the guys are going to go and have cigars, and then the women are going to go out and have tea with the queen. While they're having tea, her little sister is like, America, America, come here. And they look through the window, and out in the gardens, Prince Maxon and their dad is walking around. And they have a discussion. It's very intent. It's not an angry discussion. And then at the end of it, they like have a man hug, and the dad like kind of, you know, pats him on the shoulder and puts his arm around him and stuff. Okay. It's a very good, cute conversation, right? Cut to the Halloween party. Everybody is having a great time, and he's dancing with everyone, and she's really realizing how jealous she is that Maxon hasn't made any time for her to dance with her at all. And Aspen, he's off duty, and they had a bunch of the off-duty guards come to dance with the girls because it wouldn't really be fair for them to just be waiting around for him. And so Aspen's danced with a bunch of girls. He dances with America and makes a comment, and she's like, I just don't know what I'm gonna do. It would just break my heart to have to choose one of these guys. Again, I'm so tired of reading the same sentence again and again and again. At the end of the night, Maxon still has not danced with her. And so she's like, oh my God, I think he really is over me. He just hates me. He threw this party for you. He made a holiday for you. What do you mean? And that's pretty much what he says at the end of the night when he finally gets over to her. He says, hey, now that I've done my duty and spent time with all of these other girls, I can spend the rest of my night with you. You're the only one that I want. And yeah, I was talking to your dad in the gardens earlier because I was asking his permission to propose to you. And if, you know, he approved of the relationship and whatnot, because I figured that would be important to you. And, you know, the second you say it, I'll stop the selection and just pick you. And then she still is like doubting his freaking feelings and is just sitting there, and she's like, but I feel so loved and that's so awesome. And then she's just thinking about marrying him. Okay. So we end on like a good note and like a high note of like, oh my God, maybe I am over him and I am going to be a princess. Then say that. Say you love him. Just end this freaking book, please. Halloween party ends. It's the next day, and she's in her room, and she's like reflecting on it, and she's like, I bet Natalie is the one that's gonna get cut because she's like the least close to the prince. And as she's in the middle of thinking that, her maids come into the room, and they have a black gown, and they're acting super weird, super sketchy, and she knows that something is wrong, and so she's thinking that somebody died, right? And they don't say anything to her. She gets dressed, she gets taken out front to this like courtyard area. They open up the doors, and like all of the girls are dressed in black, and there's a huge crowd out there, and they're all celebrating the girls as they come out. And she's like, oh, so maybe this is like a happy occasion. Like if something was wrong, these people wouldn't be cheering for us. I don't know what's going on. And then she's looking at the girls around her and realizing that Marlee, her best friend, isn't there. Marlee is led outside separately in chains with Officer Carter Woodward, the one that has just conveniently been around in some of these different places, that just conveniently America ran into a few times, and that Marlee was found standing next to. It turns out Marlee and Carter were caught making out or doing some type of compromising position thing happening between them at the Halloween party. And the cameras were there, and the cameras caught it, and there was footage that circulated before the royal family even knew about it. And so now there has to be this whole like public thing Luckily, they're not going to die, right? They're not being sentenced to death, but they are immediately like caste number 8. So like their lives are essentially like ruined, right? They're going down to caste 8. And also they're going to get publicly caned. So it's really painful. It's really violent. It's going to happen like all over Carter's like back and body. And then it'll be like her hands will get destroyed basically. I think it's like 15 like, is it do you call it a whip? I guess it's going to be like 15 strikes of the cane. It's incredibly violent. America is freaking out about how vulgar this is and how she's like, I can't believe that Maxon would allow this to happen. I can't believe any of this. And so she like stands up and she tries to run out there to like protect Marlee, and she's yelling at Maxon for him allowing this. And the crowd is going crazy and they're like celebrating the punishment because everybody's like, you traitor, like you should die. You know, Marlee and Carter, I don't know. It's a whole thing of like, basically Marlee's a whore and Carter took something away from the country, right? Because she's like property of Ilya, and like really gross phrasing like that. You know what I'm saying? So all these people are here celebrating these two getting punished in such a public way. And this really, really disturbs America on such like a fundamental level, where she's also like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I could be a princess if this is something that I would have to sit through and experience. And also, I don't think I can love Maxon if this is something that he would allow and be a part of and not express, because he's just bearing witness to it, right? He's not showing any type of emotion. So Marlee's screaming. Carter is taking it like a champ. Dude is like not reacting at all to these strikes. And instead, the only thing that he is saying between these strikes is reassuring Marlee that it's okay, that he loves her, that they're all right, that it's worth it to be with her. That is a true love story. The like 3 pages where these two are having this interaction is genuinely so much more convincing and like beautiful of a love story than these 3 whole books, okay? It is super sad, but also like very, I don't know, just love story, okay? Finally, America breaks free because there's guards around her that are like holding her back as she's like screaming and making a scene. She busts through the guards and she's trying to get up onto the platform to pull Marlee away, or to like help her or whatever, to stop what's happening. The guards catch up to her. They grab her, they drag her, America, back into the castle and back up into her room. She gets up there, her maids are there, and she's just like screaming at everybody to leave her alone and to get out. And she's like, I can't believe you guys let this happen. I can't believe that you didn't tell me what was going on. Like, this is so incredibly horrific. So she's left in her room by herself, just like sobbing. And she's realizing that like Marlee must have been in love with Carter for quite a while, and that's why she didn't have any feelings for Maxon. But that's also why she didn't want to go home, because she wanted to stay in the castle to get close to him, right? And she has this like really guilty thought where all she can think of is that it could have been her, right? If the wrong person at the wrong time would have walked by when her and Aspen were talking, or like, you know, compromising position, that could have been her. And so she has this like weird like sense of relief that it wasn't her, but then she's also feeling guilty about being relieved by that because it's her best friend, and just like in general that's just kind of shitty to feel that way. So she just feels terrible, right? Just sobbing uncontrollably. Eventually Maxon comes by and he goes into her room even though she's ignoring him, and he says, hey, I had to do what I had to do. Like, this is just part of it. I didn't have any control. Like, they were going to kill them. I made sure that they didn't die. Like, that was the only alternative that would have been appropriate because of the footage that went around. Like, we didn't have a choice, America. And she's like, I can't be with somebody. I can't be with somebody that can just stand by and watch somebody get hurt. He sits there and he's like begging her to not give up on him. Whoa, there's a turkey. The turkey's back. Sorry, I have a bird feeder. I think I've talked about this before. Hold on, let me take a video so I can put it up for you guys. We have a squirrel feeder. We're going off the rails. We have a squirrel feeder thing outside of my window over here, and then there's a turkey that comes by every now and then. And there's also a family of raccoons. There's like 4 of them that will also break into this squirrel feeder, and it's so incredibly cute. But the turkey's been gone for a while. I have to take a video or my husband won't believe me that I saw him again. And so he's just like, so Maxon just begs America to like not give up on him. And reluctantly she agrees, but she still feels terrible until Aspen visits. Of course. So then she's like, oh my God, I do love Aspen. And Aspen is, saying how impressed he is by her trying to intervene and that she did the right thing. And he's like, I was so scared that this place was changing you. But in that moment, I knew that you were still the same America. And so whenever you're done with this place, I'm ready to marry you. Because if he's a guard and then he gets out, he's going to be a 2. And he's like, I can provide for you, baby. Like, we can get married and everything can be great. So yeah, like, just get out of here. Screw Maxon, screw this place, screw these monsters. Just be with me, baby. Girl, again, get up. In chapter 11, so we're like 30% of the way through book 2, by the way. Chapter 11, all of the families got sent home after this ordeal. And the girls are in the women's room. So they're just all the girls together. There's only the 5 of them remaining. And then the queen. And the queen calls America over. And she says, hey, I'm proud of you for having morals, sticking up for your friend. I think that was a really good thing to do. But also, you weren't acting like a lady. So she gives her a little bit of like, I guess like feedback. And she's like disappointed. But she's like, I am glad that you try to do something. And then the girls get together, or they're just like kind of sitting around near each other and talking about and theorizing if Marlee was guilty. Celeste, being the Beezy that she is, makes a comment and says that Marlee is a whore and deserved it. So of course America comes across the room and like beats the crap out of Celeste. Like beats her, and they get into a whole fight. Eventually they get pulled off of each other and they have to go to the hospital wing. And America in the hospital wing is like Anne, right? Or Anna, whatever, the girl from like book number 1 way earlier, forever ago, that had slapped Celeste before, had been sent home. America is like, oh my God, I did even worse. I'm gonna get sent home. But she doesn't. Maxon comes and visits both of them in the hospital wing, and she begs him to let her go home because like she's not even afraid of going home anymore. At this point, she's like, just let me be done. She's like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I'm not cut out for this. And he instead is like, America, if you loved me at all or loved me ever, you would have faith that, good things are possible. And like, you can't leave me. Like, you have to just have faith that I'm not this monster that you think I am in this moment. Like, you can't go home yet. And she says, okay, fine, I guess. Oh my frick, I'm so tired. I'm literally so tired of this girl right now, okay? And so, of course, in this moment, and her just being convinced that Maxon is such a monster, she goes back into Aspen's arms. And so he starts sneaking into her room again. They start going on like secret dates and flirting, and him trying to trust her and going on all these like secret dates and stuff. It's literally so annoying. Like, literally for the rest of this book, her and Aspen are just like sneaking around, which is, you literally just watched your friend have this public caning, and the next day you're canoodling with a guard. I hate it here. I hate it here so much, dude. In the women's room again, Celeste has a magazine and she hands it to America, and it's talking about how America is the least liked candidate now and how everybody hates her and how uncouth she is. And the whole commentary in the magazine is about how she's a 5. And why would anybody expect a 5 to be able to live up to the expectations to be a princess? That's like asking too much, because she's just dirty 5, right? It's incredibly crappy. Again, I hate reading about this whole caste system thing. It sucks. So she's uber depressed and even more supporting the idea of like, I don't want to be here. I just want to go home. And to distract herself from the sadness, from spiraling over this and spiraling over the idea of all these people hating her, she remembers Gregory Ilia's diary from freaking forever and a day ago. And she's going through and she's reading it and she's trying to get some like sage advice or wisdom about how to be royalty. Sure, I guess. It's not really helpful though, because he is, and this gets revealed over the next couple of entries that she reads, Homeboy was just like a power-hungry dictator guy. He did not do this for the greater good. He set up he was like, why be the president of Ilia when you can be the king? And set up the caste system to benefit his like friends and like loyal people, and was like just changing people's caste on a whim and changing people's names to do like blah blah blah, and was just like a really shitty guy. Hey, turns out dictator's gonna dictate, right? Like, he's not a good guy. So she's like slowly coming to this realization. And so like these initial diary entries that she's reading, she's like, this isn't helpful actually. So she instead, whenever she goes on her next secret stupid date with Aspen, she's like, Aspen, do you think I'm cut out to be a princess? It's like a whole thing where he doesn't say no, but also that she's like a super caring, amazing woman who would be able to maybe change the way things are, and that she is a good person, and that's what the country needs. Sorry, you're falling apart. My microphone. And he's like, I don't know, but I know that you're an incredibly caring person, and that's what this country needs, and I'm just here to support you. Whatever you need, anytime, baby. And she's realizing how much that Aspen has sacrificed for her, and he's done everything to support her and be there for her always. And I'm, again, cannot express to you how many times that this gets expressed. I cannot tell you how many times, I literally can't tell you how many times that idea gets repeated, okay? Around this time, the king decides that he's going to have tea with the girls to try to get to know them and like talk to them a little bit more. He's going around, does not ever talk to America, does not address her a single time. And she's realizing more and more about how she's like the outcast option at this point, in that the king was not impressed by her outburst. He is very old school, very like, you know, this is the way that things are. And so her shaking any of this up or her acting out in any type of way is not impressing him. You know what I'm saying? He does not want to deal with it. Also during this like tea party thing, she's looking and she's realizing that there is quite the connection between the prince and Kriss. And she's incredibly jealous. And so now, of course, she's like, oh my God, I'm jealous. I do have feelings for him. I do want Maxon. Freaking karate chop you, lady. I swear to God. Immediately after this whole tea party thing and her realizing that he likes Kriss, there's another rebel attack. Another one. They all go down into the like safe rooms. Kriss like twisted her ankle or something, and so Prince Maxon is down there comforting her and ends up like sleeping on the cot with her because this is a really long time that they're stuck down here. And America is just so jealous because Maxon didn't care to check on her at all, and he's just like fawning over Kriss, and all the girls are incredibly jealous of their connection. Okay. Finally, they're able to leave. Castle's destroyed. This was clearly the Southerners had invaded. They like left scrawling over all of the walls saying we're coming, and some of it's in mud and some of it might possibly be in blood. Not looking too good. These guys are getting more and more violent every time that they attack. She goes up to her room. Luckily her maids are okay. Everything's fine. That night, after being attacked, they get attacked again. Another one. This time it's the Northerners, but they don't know that at first, right? Because it takes them a while to realize what rebels are attacking for. I don't know, dude. So anyway, the rebels are attacking. It's chaos. It's crazy. There's like gunshots in the immediate vicinity where she is. And so instead of being able to find a safe room, America just books it out of the castle and runs into the woods. Okay. She runs into the woods, goes and goes and goes, eventually finds a tree, climbs up it, and then is just like waiting. And then eventually she hears footsteps, and it's two people that come running by, and it's a boy and a girl. And right under the tree where she is, the girl is carrying a backpack. The backpack breaks. A bunch of books spill out of it. That's weird. The guy comes back, and he's like trying to help her clean it. And she's like, just go, just go, just go. Because there's like other noises happening, and the rebels are trying to make a run for it before they get got by the castle guards, right? And so she stays there. She cleans up her books, tries to get them back into the bag. After she does, she's about to leave. She just happens to like flip her hair out of her face, ends up looking into the tree, makes eye contact with America. The girl on the ground laughs and curtsies and then continues running away. That's crazy. You just tried to attack in the castle and there were gunshots and craziness and you just curtsied at me? That's weird. Okay. They continue on. A bunch of time passes. America comes down. She realizes that she's lost. So she just sits under the tree and just waits to somebody to come and save her, which is the correct option, by the way. Eventually they do. Of course, it's Aspen that finds her. Yay. She's back. This is so cool. As Aspen is carrying her back in because she kind of like got her legs hurt running through the woods and stuff. They have like a whispered conversation, and she tells him about the rebels finding her and how the one like made eye contact and just curtsied and left. And he's like, that's really weird. And also about how they had a bunch of books with them, which is also really weird. And he's like, I wonder if that's what the Northerners are looking for. They're looking for books. That's so weird. I wonder what that could mean. Cut to America being in the hospital wing, being treated for, her being injured and whatnot. She falls asleep. She wakes up. Maxon is there with her. And she says, Maxon, I saw the way that you were so concerned for Kriss the other night. And I saw the way that you looked at me as I ran away from the rebels and you couldn't come after me. And you looked genuinely concerned. You do care about us. So how could you let this happen to Marlee? Girl, let it go. Let it go. He already told you he didn't have a freaking choice, bro. And he says as much. He's like, I did not have a choice. But you have to trust me. Yet again, he's like, you have to trust me. I'm going to do great things. And also, he lets her know that there's another elimination coming. And it's going to be after these receptions. So there's the royal family from like Germany and the royal family from Italy are going to be visiting. And Kriss and America are teamed up to take care of the Italians. And then the 3 remaining girls, Celeste, the Beezy, and the 2 other ones who I don't care to name right now, are working together to greet and take care of the Germans. And then whoever messes it up or whoever doesn't do well on hosting these receptions, one of them is going to go home. And so Maxon opens up to America and he's like, look, I can't bear to send either you or Kriss home, okay? Like, you have to do good at this reception thing because somebody is going to have to go home and you guys have to win. And that's when she realizes that he does have genuine feelings for Kriss. Didn't I say that already? Didn't we already been known that? What are we talking about right now, Whatever. He's concerned, though, because it's only the 2 of them versus the 3 girls. And then now with the whole rebel attacks and the time crunch and yada, yada, it's pretty much built for failure. Like, they are set up for failure, which is by design, right? Like, people want America to go home. The king wants America to go home. So they're, like, almost kind of sabotaging and, like, forcing this to happen, okay? Drama. What do you want to hear from me, okay? Leaving the hospital wing, going back to her room, she's reflecting on like wanting to give Maxon a chance and blah, but maybe I'm not cut out to be a princess. And so again, she goes to Gregory Ilia's diary trying to look for some advice. Doesn't have any because homie sucked and he was just power hungry, okay? So then she's like, and I already talked to Aspen. I need to talk to my dad. So she writes a letter to her dad trying to get some, again, sage wisdom, advice, whatever, about being cut out for royalty. And if maybe I am not meant to be a princess. Sends this off. Then we have the receptions. Celeste and the girls don't do very good on their reception. There's a couple of like fumbles that they have and it's just like absolute chaos. And then Kriss and America have their reception. It goes amazing. The Italians have been very hesitant about coming and visiting Ilia. I guess the Germans are like long time. There's been like a relationship there, but this is the first time that the Italians have like ever come to Ilia to like establish, I don't know, trade or relations or like whatever the hell they're here doing. Turns out, we find out they're there because the Italian princess pulls America aside and it very, very quickly becomes a more like diplomatic conversation. This isn't just like a hee hee ha ha fun time, like let's all the girlies drink wine together. This is a very serious like, hey dude, the country of Italy, we're here talking to you because like we are, what is it? It's like more liberated, I think is the term that they use. We're a lot more liberated than your country. We have a lot more personal freedoms. And we think the way that America has like presented herself and has been very vocal about being a 5 and maybe bringing like a different perspective to the kingdom of like, hey, caste system kind of sucks. Poor people need food and education. Like these are issues that need to be addressed. And like this country kind of blows and needs to take care of its people more. Everybody's picking up on that, including the Italians who say, we only want to be partners and like talk to the country of Ilia if they are willing to change their ways. Like if they are willing to take care of their people. AKA, if you become the princess, we will partner with your nation. Here's my personal phone number. Princess of Italy giving her personal phone number to America. Here's my personal phone number. If there's anything that I can do to help you win the selection, let me know. Okay, that's pretty great. Girl, you got a whole country fighting for you. That's wild. This makes her, I guess, like optimistic, right? Now she's back into this whole, maybe I can be a princess. It's so up and down. I swear to God, dude. So now she's like, I can be a princess. The whole country of Italy believes in me. And if I'm the princess, I can make positive change in the world. And then she goes up to her room and she has a letter back from her father. And her father's like, if you become the princess, you can have a positive impact on the world. I feel like a broken record. He's like, you can be the princess, girly. You're so awesome and caring and everybody loves you and you can really make a difference. It's almost like it's the same thing that the Italians said. It's the same thing that Aspen said. It's the same thing that like, oh, I'm so frustrated by it. Not only is she on this like upswing of like, maybe I can make change. Prince Maxon pulls her aside and he says, come with me. We have 15 minutes. And he takes her up to the princess chambers, which is like on a whole other separate floor. Nobody has seen it. She's the only girl to see the princess chambers. And so he's giving her a tour of the room. And he's like, and here's a secret passageway to everywhere else in the castle. And here's the door to my room. And, we really only use these secret passageways to get to the rooms, like to the safe rooms. But you can use it for other stuff. And then he opens the door. And in the secret passage in the princess's chambers where nobody is gonna interrupt them, who steps out into the room? None other than Marlee. Marlee, her best friend, Marlee, who supposedly was moved to Caste 8 and kicked out of the kingdom and banished. She's here. She looks pretty healthy. She looks like she's doing okay. And so Prince Maxon tells them that they have 10 minutes and he steps out of the room to let them talk it out. Long story short, it's a beautiful, love story where Maxon had intervened. They ended up sending 2 random people to whatever country thing they were going to get banished to. I guess there were 2 workers down in the kitchen that were from there, so they just got sent home. And instead, Carter and Marlee took their place in the kitchens because nobody pays attention to the staff. I guess we're just like those kind of people and just crappy. And there's so many workers there anyway that I guess they just like don't notice. And Carter's going to grow out his beard so nobody recognizes them. I don't know, dude. So they're like sneaking around down there. Prince Maxon set it up so that they could stay and have jobs in the castle and like at least kind of somewhat be taken care of and have a life together and be together. And they even got married. And she has this like little twine ring that she has. And Maxon walked Marlee down the aisle because they were like, they can no longer contact their families or anything anymore. And so he had set it up that like during that reception with the Italians, when the whole freaking castle was busy setting up for that and everybody was focused on that, Marlee, Carter, and Maxon had like stepped aside to be able to do this wedding. Oh, amazing. So now she gets to like, yeah, it's kind of miserable, not really living the best, but at least they're together and they love each other and it's so great. And so knowing that Maxon put basically like his life on the line to make sure that Marlee and Carter were okay and didn't die and didn't get, living a terrible life and that they're together and even that he walked her down the aisle, America is like, oh my God, maybe Maxon isn't this monster that I thought he was. Maybe he is a good person. Girl, make up your freaking mind. And so she decides to stay in the selection. Again, now she's like back to wanting to be here and trying to actually be a princess and stuff. The next day, the girls are getting feedback on how the receptions and whatnot went. Everybody, I guess, did okay, I suppose. Even though it very, very, very clearly was telling us that Celeste and the Germans and the whatever didn't go well. Apparently it went well enough. I feel like I just got gaslit, but sure, whatever. Before they can make a decision on who gets cut and like what the ultimate thing is that's going to come out from these receptions, they get interrupted because there's some, development in the war with New Asia. I guess they're still at war with them in some capacity or whatever. And so Maxon and the king have to go and deal with that. So off they go. He has a romantic goodbye with Kriss, and she again is like so jealous of his relationship with her. And again, now she's back to questioning if she actually has a relationship with Maxon or if he's given up on her. Obviously not, dude. Obviously freaking not. And then she's thinking about the queen and how, I don't know. I don't even care anymore, okay? Maxon and the king are gone. They're off doing, saving the world, whatever. Aspen is like, homie's gone. Let's go on more dates. And so he sets up in one of the like selected girls' rooms. Does that make sense? She's gone now. So now there's just this random room in the castle that's like abandoned and like nobody's ever going to go in there. He goes in there and sets up a picnic. And then he's like, look, isn't this just like old times? I'm going to be here for you forever and we can just live happily ever after. And she kind of pushes back again and she's like, Aspen, I do love you, but I need to be here and be a part of the selection. And again, I'm just repeating myself. She's back to, I don't know, figuring her life out. And he says, I feel like Maxon and I are in our own version of the selection. Whoever wins gets you. Yeah, no shit. That's kind of what that means. Okay, sure. Whole thing, yada, yada, yada. Time passes. Long story short, the uprising that happened that the king and Prince Maxon had to go and deal with was the rebels, the Southern rebels in particular, really going crazy. And they've started to attack people that are the same caste as the girls that are left in the selection, which is like 2, 3, and 4, and 5. Okay, that doesn't really narrow it down, guys. That's like half the country, sure. They're attacking them because they want the selection to end. And so they're like kind of targeting those areas. I don't know. 300 people are dead, okay? So that's what they had to go and like deal with and go and try to figure out. And we're back to America feeling bad about like, oh my God, this selection sucks. I don't want to be a part of this. Oh my God. Oh, look at that. She's reading Gregory Ilia's diary again. And this time this is like outright talking about how easy it is to seize power. And she's like, oh my God, the caste system. This was set up to tear the people apart. Shocker. Maxon returns and he brought a bracelet back for America. And so then she has to take off the bracelet that Aspen had made her with a piece of string and one of his buttons from his uniform. And then she's like taking the bracelet off and she's looking at the both of them and she's like, I don't know what choice. I don't know what I want to choose. Aspen I love so much and I've loved for so long, but Maxon is the steadier choice. I swear to God, I'm so tired of this book. I have 5 chapters left of book number 2, okay? We can tough this out together, guys. We're here together. For the next report or the next like big thing that the girls have to do, they have to pick a project that they would work on, like what their like special cause or special project would be if they were chosen as a princess. And they're going to present this on the next report. Speaking of the next report, Maxon pulls America aside and he says, hey, I need you to choose because I'm going to have to start cutting girls. And like, I need to know if you want to be here or not. You have to give me a decision by the next report. If you have to tell me if you want me and if you want the responsibility of being a princess. Okay. Like you need to figure it out. Okay, cool. She's thinking about her project. She runs into Aspen. Aspen decides to have another secret meeting with her because again, we're just trying to get got. I swear to God. They hang out. And he's complaining about the caste system. Again, hey, this gets brought up a lot, okay? It's relevant, I promise, maybe. And her response to him is that like, well, now that we're higher castes forever, because he's going to be a 2 and she's going to be a 3. No matter what, if she leaves the selection, she's now a 3. Like all of the other girls that have left so far are like getting married to celebrities and fellow 3s and everybody's living a great life. Like even again, being even considered being a part of this list of 35 girls, your life gets crazy better, right? So she's like, Aspen, now that we're higher, we can make a difference. We can do good for the world. Okay. She goes back, reads more of Gregory Ilia's diary. This is the diary entry where he talks about the caste system directly and she puts it together about how, oh my God, he created this to punish the people. And it was all just a grab for power and he ruined people's lives and like he took away their choice in life, right? Like he's forcing people to do blah, blah, blah. Awesome. Okay. So she's kind of fretting about this. She goes for a walk around the castle. While she's walking around the castle, she walks down a hallway, turns a corner. Maxon and Celeste are making out in the hallway. She's horrified. She runs away. Maxon runs after her and is trying to stop her and kind of, I guess, like explain himself or something. And she's like, I don't want to hear it. Because now that she knows the like foundations of this country and that like it was established because of this guy's like money hungriness or like power hungriness, she's like, Maxon being the prince, she's like, he must know this. He has an education. He knows why and how this country was founded and how terrible it was and that this was all not for the people and how terrible this was. And he let it happen. Maxon's a terrible person. And now I saw him making out with Celeste. He's never cared about the people. He just wants a bedmate. And he's just like, he's just as bad as everybody else. girl, I cannot keep doing this. I cannot keep doing this back and forth right now, okay? Frick, man. So he pulls her aside and he's like, hey, it's not what it looked like with Celeste. And she says, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to be here. I'm done with the selection. Send me home. And he says, we're not done until I say we're done. And so she decides at the report, she's like, I know what I can do. I'm going to go out with a bang. What does that mean? That's scary. That's a scary thing to say. So cut to said report. All of the other girls go first. They give their presentations. Most of them aren't very good, okay? Kriss's is the only one that's like worth anything, and it's education stuff. Yay, so cool. America goes up there. Her presentation, her project that she would have would be to get rid of the caste system. That is a crazy thing to say publicly in front of the king, live to national television, to completely challenge the way that the government is running. So the king gets pissed. He tells him, cut the cameras, like, knock it off. She also, during her whole spiel talking about the caste system, was talking about how, like, Gregory Ilya established this for blah, blah, blah. So the king knows that she's read the diaries. So now he's extra pissed that she even knows about those or has access to those. So, of course, Maxon gets in trouble for this, too. So the king is pissed at Maxon, at her, the fact that she would say this out loud, like, all of this. And he's, like, ordering Maxon to send her home. And Maxon pushes back and he's like, the decision is mine. I can do whatever I want. I can do anything. Okay. America goes back to her room after the report. Her maids applaud her, right? Not only is she this, like, really caring person that's gone out of her way and, like, has very clearly not seen castes or treated people differently for the castes that they come from, but now she said this on national television and they're like, oh my God, that's so amazing of you. That's awesome. She's going to go and visit the gardens. She just wants to take a walk and just kind of clear her head after all of this. But instead she runs into Maxon, and he's leaving out of the hospital wing, and he has this, like, box of medical supplies, which is, like, kind of weird. And he talks to her and he's like, hey, you're, like, going about this the wrong way. You can't just make these huge changes. Like, again, he's like, you have to have faith in me. You have to have patience. I'm trying to make changes. I'm trying to do the right thing. But, like, you can't just come out of the gate swinging like that, dude. Like, there's, like, have some decorum. You have to have a plan here, right? Like, there's processes to be had, you know? Before they can really continue the conversation, though, the castle's under attack again. The rebels are attacking yet again. So the two of them end up in a safe room together alone in this, like, kind of separate area from everybody. And long story short, they're going to be stuck there for a while. And so he takes off his coat and he asks her to help him. And it's apparent that he has been caned as well. That the king took out his anger on Maxon and was, like, punishing Maxon for allowing America to stay and for giving her the diary and all this other stuff. And so he is injured very, very badly on his back. And so she helps tend to his wounds. And then he asks if she wants to know the truth about Kriss and Celeste. Of course, it's like, he's like, I only kissed Celeste because I just wanted attention, basically. He's like, I just wanted to kiss somebody. Dude, you literally just learned what kissing was. You just had your first kiss the other day and now you're, like, craving physical affection or whatever. You're so weird for that. And then Kriss, he does actually have a genuine relationship with, and he doesn't want to get rid of her because if America doesn't want him, she's the next best thing. Like, she's the best option. And so he's like, you know, you're the only one I've ever wanted, America, but now my father is, like, against you and he won't ever, you know, do anything to, like, support you or let any of this happen. So I don't know what to do now. And so then he asks her pretty explicitly of, like, did you ever love me? Why are we saying past tense? So she's like, yeah, I did. I kept letting the crown scare me out of wanting you. I let myself believe that I wasn't important to you. Oh, so we are self-aware. And we're just going to continue doing a bunch of nonsense. Now, all of a sudden, that the king is against you, and Maxon says explicitly, like, hey, we're probably not going to be able to make this work anymore because you're doing dumb shit. Now you want to come out and be honest about your feelings? I hate it here. And so in all of this, she realizes that, like, she's lost her chance with him and there's no way that they're going to be able to work this out. But then they start making out, and then the rebels are still there, like, all night. So eventually they stop making out and they start talking a little bit more. And she is like, I wonder if the Northern rebels, I wonder if they're here looking for Gregory Ilya's diaries. No shit. No shit. Finally, they're safe. They're able to come out of the safe room. There was a bunch of people ended up actually dying. Like, this was like very violent. And again, like, We're Coming is like painted on the walls, and it's just like super, super scary. And she has accepted that she's going home. So she ends up running into Aspen, and she tells Aspen as much about going home. And he's like, this is great. We can be together. And she says, just give me time. Just let me choose you, okay? Just give me a chance to choose you. And so then he kisses her. She doesn't kiss him back. And then he's like, I've been fighting for you, and I'll keep fighting for you. I get it. I know, okay? Oh my God, dude. And so she's like preparing to leave and like packing her bags and like putting on this like dress and she's like saying goodbye to the maids and the gardens and everything. And then Maxon like stops her and he's like, don't worry. I convinced my dad that you can stay. You can stay if you want to. And I'll send Natalie home instead. Okay. I'll just stay here, America, please. But if you stay, my dad's going to try to make you fail at anything going forward. But you have my heart. You have my heart, but not my trust because of this whole diary thing. And you freaking made me get beat because you want to be crazy about stuff. And he's also like, and you keep shutting me out. And like, if you stay, you have to like open your heart to me and you have to trust me. She says, I promise I'll be open and honest and I'll keep all of your secrets. And then on her way to her room, she runs into the king and the king's like, blah, 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 blah. My son chose you, but you don't deserve to be here. I'm going to make sure you go home. And so on that note, she goes back to her room and she decides, I'm really going to try to win the selection this time. Is that not how I ended book 1? Is that not how I ended book 1? Ooh. Okay, I'm 6 chapters into book 3. Let me read you my notes for that. I have so many notes everywhere, dude. I don't think I've ever covered 3 books in one go. I think the most I ever did was 2 books in one go. So this is a lot for me. This is new for me, okay? So these are my notes for the first 6 chapters of that book. Opens with Natalie did go home, so now we're down to just the 4: Kriss, America, Celeste, and then the other girl that I have not named. We're left with 4 girls as we go into the final book. The attacks have continued. The rivalry between the girls has gotten worse, and it ends up getting to a point where they like competitively talk about like, well, I kissed Maxon. Well, I've kissed Maxon. Well, I've gone on dates with him, and I only haven't kissed him because I'm pure, and I'm waiting until we're engaged to do such things. And then America ends up making some comment about how she's like seen him without his shirt on because she was helping him with a medical emergency. And then all the girls are thinking that they boned, and she can't tell the truth because she doesn't want to like, put his business out there. I was like, you already halfway did. You just said you saw him shirtless. Ugh. So anyway, it's just like super gross. They're all just like comparing their relationships with Maxon and end up having like a standoff with each other. And she's like, I can just feel the distance growing between us. Please, for the love of God, pick a lane. Pick a lane. She's like, if I choose Maxon, the distance between me and Aspen grows and blah, blah, blah. I'm so freaking over it. I said, wow, almost like I've said that 1,000 times. Anyway, the distance between them doesn't last for long because while the king is off doing diplomatic work, because there's some other stuff that popped off, and he left Maxon behind, like embarrassingly said it in front of the girls, said it in front of the queen, that like he wasn't taking Maxon with him because he is not acting like a prince, so you don't get to come along. Really embarrassing. So while the king is off doing diplomatic stuff, 2 northern rebels break into the castle in the middle of the night. Again, security. Hello? Do we have any at all? Do we even have a dog that barks? What are we talking about? What do you mean? So these 2 rebels come in the middle of the night, and they come in like arms up. They're not here for a fight. All they want to do is talk to Maxon and talk to America. I don't know if you guys realize this or not, but I literally end up filming these videos like up until the absolute last second. Like it is 8 p.m. It is 8 p.m. on July 8th. This is going live tomorrow. I still have to edit it, and it's already 2.5 hours long is the runtime that I'm seeing right now. Not looking great for me. So we're actually going to kind of speed through book number 3. I'm so sorry about that. If you want to go read it, you're more than welcome to. This book also came out like over 10 years ago, so I also don't really want to hear it. You've had a chance to read it, okay? So the rebels who are here, the Northern rebels, turns out it is the ones that America saw in the woods. The girl that had the books and stuff that had fallen out. And then the boy. The boy is Gregory Ilya's grandson, like direct descendant. So it turns out there was like some drama with the sons and one of them dying and then marrying in. And then that's how Maxon's family ended up like being a part of the lineage. I don't want to, who cares? Okay. Point being though, technically he has the right for the crown. So Maxon is like, I'm not giving it to you. And dude says, I don't want it. I'm just telling you, like, I'm the one that's running the Northern Rebels, and all we want to do is get rid of the caste system and to have, like, elected officials. Like, we just want to get rid of, like, a monarchy. Or even if you have a monarchy, at least have, like, a council or something, you know what I mean? Like, have something chosen by the people. He's like, that's all that we want. And also to, like, have evidence of you wanting to do that and like progressing toward a future of what we want for Ilya and like treating its people right, we want you to marry America, because obviously America is very like pro what we want to do, right? She's speaking out of all of basically our causes, and that's how you would like indicate that we're making progress in the right direction. And Maxon is like, you don't get to tell me who I have to marry. You don't get to pick it. Dude, you love her. You wanted to marry her anyway. Why are you being so dramatic? The answer is, like I had talked about earlier, he just doesn't want to be told what to do. And so he like is like vehemently denying and like pissed off and telling them he doesn't want to marry America for them. Like he wants to be able to make his own decisions. Just throwing diplomacy out the freaking window. Whatever. And then America also pushes back because she's like, you want me to be the queen so that people can have freedom? Well, what about my freedom? I want to pick what I can do. You can't force me to marry him. I thought you loved each other. Why does it matter? Why can't we all just benefit from this? One team, one fight. What are we doing right now? I hate everything. So they're so dramatic and they're like, no Northern rebels who have only ever wanted what's good for the people. They're like banding together, getting all this money together to try to like, I don't know, support the greater good. And they make a special note of like, we've only ever come in here because we want Gregory Ilya's diaries to prove that he was a crappy guy, in that the caste system and all of this stuff is illegitimate and this wasn't done for the good of the people. And we want to use it as like credibility to, I don't know, support our cause and get rid of the system. That's all we want to do. And they're being so dramatic and stupid about it. And girl, don't get me started. So they end up leaving. They're like, okay, if you want to play that game, we have plan B. And so they leave. And they do make a note though. So that's the Northern rebels. The Southern rebels want to get rid of the selection process. They want to get rid of the king. Like they want to completely like throw the government away the way that it is, because the Southern rebels are made up of people of lower castes. And he goes on explaining it and he's like, they're just as power hungry as ever, and they're lying to all of the people because they're like turning to violence and convincing the people that the current system is broken and that's why they're suffering. But really, the people that are in charge of the Southern rebels, when they get in power, they're just going to destroy the country and just use it to benefit themselves. Like they're just as greedy and selfish as the people currently running the place. It's just under the guise of this like other movement. Again, really interesting like political commentary. I'm not gonna lie, like there are parts of this book that are very aware and very interesting in that way. Okay, so Southern rebels just crappy. Apparently the Northern rebels are supposed to be awesome. Cool, got it, noted. Everybody presses on though, and so he like storms off, and then the people are still there. By the way, it's Georgia is the girl's name. Does it matter? Not really. It's Georgia and August. It's August Ilya, and then Georgia is the girl that's here. So she pulls America aside and she's like, hey, sorry, I didn't think you guys would be so dramatic about that. I thought you guys were like in love. I thought him picking you would just be easy and we could all just like have an alliance. And America's like, I thought it would be easy too. Oh, okay. But again, she doesn't want to be a political pawn. And then Georgia goes on to explain why they want her and why they admire her so much. And it's because the way, I've said it, it's the way that she treats her maids. It's the way that she stuck up for Marlee. All of these, there's insiders in the castle, right? That's the other way that the rebels have been able to continually break inside the castle, because there's a bunch of people that are in on this and supporting this cause. And so they've all like consistently reported of how good of a person that America is. She's not like other girls. And so Maxon also ends this conversation saying, I'm not even the king anyway. I can't even make any changes. Like, what you're asking me is ridiculous. But they end up leaving on a note that, like, technically he's open to these changes. Like, he's open to changing the caste system. He just can't do anything right now. So they just leave. I don't get me started. They press on. Selection continues. They have a report day. They're doing, like, interviews with the guy. It gets interrupted. The king comes over. He says, hey, everybody, just want to make an announcement. The Southern rebels have escalated their tactics. They're so anti the selection that they have begun attacking castes based off of the women that are remaining in the selection. So, like, Celeste being a 2, I think Kriss is a 3, whoever the other one is a 4, and then America being a 5, right? He's like, they're attacking the castes. Doesn't really make sense. And so then they turn to the girls and they're like, okay, so do you guys have a message for the people? Celeste says, like, listen to your king, because he advises people to stay home. He advises people to stay home so that they don't get attacked. And then Celeste is like, yeah, listen to the king. And Kriss says, hey guys, 2s and 3s, you guys are pretty safe. So if you know a 4 or 5, you should take them in and take care of your fellow people. Like, if one of them works for you or something. She's like trying. And then America, they look over to her and they're like, what do you have for the people? What do you want to say to them about being attacked by the Southerners? And she says, fight back. They're a bunch of bullies. Just fight them. That's not the right answer. That is not the right, it is the right answer, but not the right answer in terms of trying to have the king be on your side and trying to, like, win this competition, right? It's not the politically correct answer, I should say, but it is, like, the morally correct answer. So obviously this continues to boost her popularity with the masses. And then her and Maxon are kind of going back and getting in fights because she's like, wow, you make it sound so dramatic that you don't want to marry me. And then he's disappointed in the way that she responded on the report, telling them to fight. He's like, I can't believe you would say that. And she's like, oh my God, he hates me again. He hates me and I'm not cut to be a princess. He doesn't love me anymore. Do you also see why I'm speeding through this book? Turns out he does love her, because then they have some romantic moment where they, like, dance in the rain together. And she's like, maybe I do love him. I love him so fully and completely, and I have to stick it out and make this work. And then there's a whole bonding moment with Celeste where she's only a Beezy because she's fighting so hard to win the selection because, like we said, she's a model and that's all she has going for her. And so she's terrified of getting old and, like, no longer having her beauty and her looks. And she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do after that. Like, I have to be this princess to whatever. Okay, she has, like, a really good character arc, actually. Genuinely, it's pretty good. And so America comforts her and she's like, you just have to be your own person. Awesome. Thanks. With the Northerners, this, like, kind of tentative agreement that they have, Maxon and America start kind of sneaking out to talk to them, to have some conversations, some updates, whatever you want to call it. And they start talking about how the Northerners are going to push back on the Southerners, but they need weapons. Maxon says, hey, I'll teach you how to fight, but I'm not giving you any weapons. Okay? It gets interrupted by some gunfire. I don't know. They go their separate ways. America has that phone number that she got forever ago from the Princess of Italy, and then they were all, like, buddy, bestie friends. She hits up the Princess of Italy, and Maxon approves of it. They've kind of talked about it, but Italy is going to give a bunch of money, untraceable money, to the Northern rebels so that they can buy weapons. Okay, time passes. Things are going on. The women that are in the selection have to do something that's called the convicting. And this is to prove that they can be royals and dole out punishments, essentially. So the girls are, like, presented with something that somebody did, some criminal, and then they have to choose what the punishment is. America's guy is, like, a thief, and it was one of those, like, he was gonna get life in prison or something, and instead she, like, takes off her jewelry and gives it to him and tells him to pay off his debts. And so she, like, bypasses the convicting, and it's a whole thing. And I was like, oh my God, that's, like, literally a scene that Akotar had. Literally, like, almost verbatim had in Akotar. That's so interesting. So she does this. So the crowd erupts because they're like, oh my God, she did something crazy. Nobody expected this. She saved this man's life. The king is pissed. Again, understandably so. He's so sick of her crap. And so he's like, we'll just restart the whole selection process. And Maxon's like, no, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. Again, he's like, you can't make me choose. I'm going to choose between these 4 women that are here. Drama. What do you expect? Now, all of a sudden, the girls have like hit a turning point where they're no longer really, they're still competing, but they don't really like view each other as enemies quite so much anymore. And now everybody's like trying to be all buddy-buddy. And now everybody's trying to be all buddy-buddy. And Celeste opens up and she apologizes to the girls for all the sabotage that she's done. And the queen opens up to them and talks about how before she was chosen, she was a 4 and she worked in a factory. And then finally, America gets confronted directly by the king, who tells her, you have to record essentially like propaganda, continue to promote the caste system, or you're out of here. He's like, I don't really give a crap. I will make you leave by Christmas. She's talking to Maxon about this, and they end up having this like huge argument where he's like, just tell me that you love me so that I can send the other people home. And she's like, just send the other people home so that I know that you love me. She's like, I'm not going to say I love you till I know that you're committed to me. And he's like, I'm not going to kick the other girls out until you say that you want to be here. What? I don't understand how we're at like an impasse. Like, okay, that is fine. Christmas Eve comes around. We had Halloween. We're now at Christmas Eve. I guess 3 months now? I don't freaking know. Time has passed. He takes her up to his room and shows her, and this is the first time she's ever seen it. And he has a bunch of like photos on the wall because he likes photography. He's like a photographer, I guess. I don't know. And he's just like begging her to stay. Like, do the propaganda, please, please, please. I just want you to stay. I just want you to love me. Just tell me that you love me. And she's like, you say it first. And they both refuse to. They refuse to say it to each other. And before they can get over this stupid argument, a guard comes in and says that America's father has died of heart failure. What? Good. Okay. Jesus Christ. This is escalating. So she goes to her dad's funeral, and while she's there, she's given like a letter. He has like a confessional letter, essentially, where he tells America that he passed information to the Northern rebels. I was right. I knew it. And so this obviously adds a lot of implications maybe to think. Like, I don't really know what the word would be, but it's like for her dad to also support the Northern rebels, and she was kind of already leaning that way anyway, but to know that that's what it was, and she respected him so much that, again, we're back to this whole thing. Maybe I am cut out to be a princess, and maybe I should do this. Maybe I should try to win this election. Also, while she's here at this funeral, she's talking to her older sister. I haven't talked about her older sister or her older brother because really they don't freaking matter. But in this instance, they do, because the older sister pulls her aside and she says, hey, girly pop, you're literally so torn up right now because you're just keeping Aspen around and like that relationship as a safety net. You need to take a risk and go all in with Maxon. Like, you obviously don't love Aspen that much if like you're willing to entertain all this other stuff. Like, you just need to let him go. And so she does. She like takes off her bracelet that he gave her that I had mentioned briefly before, of like the twine in one of his suit or uniform buttons. She takes it off and she leaves it at her house on her windowsill as like a symbolic thing of like, I'm moving on. I'm leaving my past behind. She gets back to the castle. She finds out Maxon has eliminated Celeste and the other girl that was there. So now it's just down to America and Kriss. And we also find out, it turns out Kriss is there as a Northern rebel. Like, she's there in support of the Northern rebel stuff. So that was plan B. They had either America, who is like here genuine. So doesn't matter. They were trying to get him to marry America because they very clearly love each other. They pushed back. So now they're like, okay, well, plan B was Kriss. And even though she's like insisting, she's like, yeah, maybe I was sent here to be a Northern rebel person, but I really do love him. I promise. It's genuine. And bro, don't get me started. So then she's like, this kind of forces America's hand, where she pulls Maxon aside and she's like, I choose you. I want to marry you. And then they end up sleeping together in bed. Aspen comes bursting through the door the next morning, sees them. She chases after him to be like, no, it wasn't like that. Nothing happened. Why do you care? You're marrying the prince. Why do you give a shit what this random guy from back home said? You said you were leaving him behind. But she's like, I need him as a friend. I can't lose him. So she chases after Aspen in the hallway, and she gets a hold of him and she puts her hand on his chest and she's like, no, please listen to me. And then Maxon comes around the corner, sees her having her hand on Aspen. Hello? The prince sees her all up on the bodyguard's business, apologizing and like her hand on his chest. And he, understandably, he's like, I've had my suspicions, but I see the truth now. I knew this was true. America, I take it back. I don't want to marry you. You're going home. And so he turns the corner, he sees them touching, and he is heartbroken and tells her that she's going home. He's like, I have literally invested so much time and energy and love into America, and I've given up on all of this stuff. And I just lost you. I gave up on opportunities with all of these girls. You get to go home to a new cast with a boyfriend, apparently, who is going to be doing good things. Like, you don't love me. You're lying. Like, you're not, he's just really heartbroken, okay? Which is, like, understandable. So the whole time that she was gone, visiting her dad's funeral and doing that, he was writing her a bunch of letters and love letters and just confessing how much he loved her and how, like, just that's it. It's just like super gushy, lovey-dovey stuff of confessing his feelings. And I'm like, did we need that? He's literally been so honest about being obsessed with her from day one. She needed more proof? He's literally said that to you from the jump. I don't need to be convinced of this. So chapter 30, there are 32 chapters in this book that we're about to like, and then an epilogue that we're getting to, okay? Chapter 30, she's going home. And, so she's there watching as Maxon and Kriss he's gonna like propose to her and like pick her formally, and the selection is over, right? Like they're at the ceremony for the selection to end because she done goofed, right? So they're all here in this room and Maxon comes over to her and he's talking shit to her basically. And she's like, I read your letters and I loved them so much, Maxon. And he's like, leave it alone. And then she looks down because she's trying to compose herself. When I brought my eyes up again, I didn't dare look directly at anyone. I didn't think I could honor Maxon's last wish if I did. Instead, I focused on the walls of the room. It was because of that I noticed when most of the guards stepped away from them at some signal I didn't see. Hello? Pieces of red fabric were pulled out of their pockets and tied across their foreheads. I watched in confusion as a red marked guard walked up behind Celeste and put a bullet squarely through the back of her head. It's not funny. She literally just had a character arc, and we literally just fell in love with Celeste, and she was so cool. And she got sent home or whatever. Yeah, cool, but she like bonded with all the girls. And then she gets shot in the back of the head. I watched the screaming, the gunfire exploded at once. Guttural shouts of pain filled the room, adding to the cacophony of chairs screeching, bodies hitting walls, and the stampede of people trying to escape as fast as they could in their heels and suits. And it's rebel guards, like the Southerners have infiltrated and they're all like having this crazy shootout and they're about to like kill the king and kill the queen and they want to kill Maxon and they're just going to kill everybody. They got everybody all in a room together for this whole selection thing, and now is their opportunity to just like wipe the entire freaking royal family out. And so she's panicking, she's looking around. I noticed a very still leg hanging out from under the tablecloth. Oh my God, Maxon. I scurried under the table to find Maxon, breathing with great labor, a large red stain growing across his shirt. There was a wound below his left shoulder, and it looked very serious. Oh, Maxon, I cried, unsure of what else to do. I balled up the hem of my dress in my hands and pressed it to the bullet wound. He winced a bit. I'm so sorry. He reached up his hand and covered mine. No, I'm sorry. I was about to ruin both of our lives. Don't talk right now, just focus, okay? Look at me, America. I blinked a few times and pulled my gaze up to his eyes. Through the pain, he smiled at me. Break my heart. Break it 1,000 times if you like. It was only ever yours to break anyway. Shh, I urged. I'll love you until my very last breath. Every beat of my heart is yours. I don't want to die without you knowing that. Please don't. Don't give up, Maxon. I love you. Please don't give up. He took an unsteady breath. Aspen ducked under the table then, and I squealed in fear before I realized who it was. Kriss is in a safe room, Your Majesty. Aspen said, all business. Your turn. Can you stand? And he's like, it's a waste of time. Take America. And so then Aspen grabs her. He tells her to be happy, and they make a run for it to the safe room. And Aspen's telling her to shut up because he's like, hey, dummy, the quieter you are that I can get you safely, the quicker I can return to grab him to also get to a safe room. Because the rebel guards all kind of like scattered to try to find all of the people that were running away in the royal family and stuff. But because they like hid and were under that table, I guess the guards didn't see them or something. Dude, I don't know. Okay. I don't know. And then Aspen puts her in a safe room, gives her a gun, and he's like, do what you have to do to survive. I'm so sorry. But you have to do it. You have to be safe for so many people, and I need you to do something for me. What? If something happens to me, I need you to tell. Over his shoulder, a hint of red came from behind the corner at the end of the hall. What the hell? Loki, stop. Sorry. Oh, Jesus Christ. Over his shoulder, a hint of red came from behind the corner at the end of the hall. I jerked the gun up and pointed it past Aspen, firing at the figure. Not a second later, Aspen pushed me into the safe room and slammed the door, leaving me alone in the dark. She's like, in chapter 31, she's just locked in the safe room, reflecting on everything. And I don't know, she's just freaking out and trapped in here and super sad, and she just wants to be with Maxon so badly. Finally, they, being August, Ilya, the grandson guy, he comes and lets her out, and he says, hey, it's safe, we got him, because there were northerners here too. So then it ended up being like a northern-southern shootout with the palace guards trying to protect the king and the queen and the people, and it was just chaos, okay? Finally, it's over. You know, August, he says, we got them. Where's Maxon? Is he alive? Did Kriss make it? There was an officer, he brought me here. His name is Officer Ledger. Have you seen him? I think she's in shock. Take her to the hospital wing, quickly. She asks for Maxon, but nobody answers her. She wakes up in the hospital wing. She's looking around, and she's asking if the prince is there somewhere. Solemnly, he shakes his head. Oh, and she's thinking nothing will ever... And she's like, oh my God, he did die. She's thinking, Maxon, no one will ever replace you. And I sealed our love away. That's so fucked up. Mare, which is Aspen's nickname for her. Aspen's here. My breathing hitched as I took unsteady steps toward him. His head was bandaged, and there was blood staining its way through. His chest was bare and bruised, blah, blah, blah. What happened? I'd rather not relive the details. I made it for a long time, and I took out maybe 6 or 7 of them before they got my leg. The doctor says I'll probably be able to walk, but I'll need a cane. At least I'm alive. And then he's like, you saved my life. The shot you took spooked that rebel and gave me enough time to fire. If you hadn't done it, he would have shot me in the back. And blah, blah, blah. Thank you so much. And then he's like, it's my instinct to fight for you. You'll always have a piece of my heart, but I'm not in love with you anymore. Can you imagine going through all of this just for this guy to say this to you? He says, you'll always have a piece of my heart, but I'm not in love with you anymore. I think sometimes that you still need me or want me, but I don't know if that's right. You deserve better than me being with you because I feel obligated. That's so terrible. I sighed. And you deserve better than being someone I settle for. Oh my God, dude. Why are we saying these things? And then she makes a comment about how she's sad about Maxon dying. And Aspen's like, what are you talking about? Maxon's fine. She's like, but the guard said he wasn't down here. Yeah, dummy. Of course he's not here. He's the king. He's recovering in his room. And she's like, oh my God, the king died? The queen too. It's not funny. It's not funny. Actually, if it hadn't been for the northern rebels, Maxon might not have made it either. They were really the tipping point. This is freaking insane. And then, like, she's in the middle of talking to Aspen about this. And then this girl comes in, Lucy, which is her maid that had the PTSD. She comes in, and Aspen and her have a moment of like, oh my God, you're here. I'm so happy to see you. Where were you? Blah, blah, blah. Girl, he's over you because he found a new girlfriend. He's dating your maid. That's crazy. And so she's like, oh, wow, okay. They're so lost in each other. They didn't even notice when I walked away, heading off to find the one person I really wanted to see. I feel like this happened so quickly. He's just moved on. He's just like... The king and queen are dead. Celeste is dead. We're just flying through all of this. Aspen doesn't give a fuck. Like, he's moved on. This is so, like, this book escalated so badly. I'm glad I'm speeding through this for you. This is insane. So chapter 32, leaving the hospital wing, I got my first look at the palace. It was hard to process the destruction. Goes to Maxon's room, and the guard is there, and he says, he's been waiting for you. She goes in, he kicks everybody out of the room, and she says, I'm so sorry about your parents. It doesn't seem real yet. I keep thinking that father is in his study and mom is downstairs, and any minute one of them will come in here with something for me to do. I know exactly what you mean. I guess with her dad dying too, I guess she can relate. I know you do. She tried to save him. A guard told me a rebel had my father in his sights, but she ran behind him. She went down first, but they got father immediately after. She was always selfless to her very last breath. They have a bunch of talk of like, I'm glad you're safe. And then he says, there's something I want to show you. He suddenly announced. Mind you, it's a bit rough, but I think you'll still like it. Open the drawer here. It should be on top. I pulled out the drawer in his bedside table, noticing a pile of typed papers right away. I gave Maxon a questioning look, but he just nodded toward the writing. I started reading the document, trying to process what it said. I got to the end of the first paragraph, then reread it to make sure I wasn't mistaken. You're going to dissolve the castes? That's the plan. I don't want you to get too excited. This will take a long time to do, but I think it will work, you see. I want to start from the bottom. I'm planning on eliminating the 8 label first. There's a lot of construction we need to do, and I feel like with a little bit of work, the 8s could be absorbed into the 7s. And after that, it gets tricky. There's got to be a way to get rid of the stigmas that come along with the numbers, but that's my goal. I want you to know that this is all you're doing. Since the day you called me into the hallway and told me about being hungry, I've been working on this. It was one of the reasons I got so upset after you did your presentation. I had a quieter way of reaching the exact same goal, but all of the things I wanted to do for my country, this would have never crossed my mind if I hadn't known you. That's crazy, bro. To have the, no, never mind. To be so out of touch. That's crazy. And then he's like, wait, there's something else. And he pulls out a ring for her. It's a web of thin gold vines crawled up, forming a circle of the ring, and at the top, 2 gems, one green and one purple, that kissed at the crown of it. I knew the purple one was my birthstone, so the green one must be his. Must be his? You don't know his birthday? There were 2 little spots of light growing together, inseparable. Twice now, I've tried to do this on a grand scale and failed spectacularly. As it is, I can't even get on one knee. I hope you won't mind if I just speak to you plainly. I love you. I should have told you a long time ago. Maybe we could have avoided so many stupid mistakes if I had. Then again, sometimes I think it was because of all of those obstacles that made me love you so deeply. Oh my God. With that said, what I said was true. My heart is yours to break. As you already know, I'd rather die than see you in pain. In the moment I was hit, when I fell to the floor, sure my life was ending, all I could think of was you. In those seconds, I was mourning everything I'd lost, how I'd never get to see you walk down the aisle toward me, how I'd never get to see your face and our children, how I'd never get to see streaks of silver in your hair. But at the same time, I couldn't be bothered. If me dying meant you living, how could that be anything but good? Oh my God, that's a beautiful sentence. America, I know you see a king here, but let me be clear. This isn't a command. This is a request, a plea. I beg you, make me the happiest man alive. Please do me the honor of becoming my wife. I couldn't get out how much I wanted this, but where my voice failed, my body succeeded. I crawled into Maxon's arms, holding onto him tightly, certain that nothing could ever pull us apart. When he kissed me, I felt my life settle into place. I had found everything I'd ever wanted, things I didn't even know I was looking for, here in Maxon's arms. And if I had him to guide me, to hold me, then I could take on the world. It seemed too soon our kiss slowed and Maxon pulled back to look me in the eyes. I saw it in his face. I was home, and I finally found my voice. Yes. Yay. Yay. And then the epilogue is them getting married, and Aspen walks her down the aisle, and he's walking with a cane because of his injuries and stuff. But yeah, they've like gone from lovers to family now, I guess. So that's a arc I haven't ever really seen before, I guess. And she's just like reflecting on how she misses the queen and even Celeste, and one of her maids died in the attack as well. I didn't say that one. A whole bunch of people died. Like, quite literally, a whole bunch of freaking people die. But, yeah, she goes up there, and Marlee's there at the wedding. She's witnessing this as well. Because if they're getting rid of the whole caste system thing, then they're no longer 8s, right? So now she can, like, interact with them and be a part of all of this stuff and whatever. Continue to be friends and not have all this, like, stigma, right? And then America, the epilogue ends. But even now, I know this isn't a fairy tale. I know that we'll have hard times, confusing times. I know that things won't always happen the way that we want them to, and that we'll have to work to remember that we chose this. It won't be perfect, not all the time. This isn't happily ever after. It's so much more than that. And that's how the book ends. Like I said, there's 2 novellas, maybe more than that, in the series. I can't read them because, again, it is now 8:40 p.m. and I have to edit this and get this out. So maybe I'll read those eventually. I don't freaking know, dude. If you have, let me know in the comments below, like, what they're about or what happens in them. I don't know. Maybe eventually I'll do, like, a Monday video or some super short video talking about those ones. Maybe, probably not. I don't know. You tell me. This was so repetitive. This book was so freaking repetitive. But I could see why this would have everybody in a chokehold. You know what I mean? Like growing up, I could 100% see why this would have everybody in a chokehold. And it was fun. It was nonsense. I hope you had a good time. I did. Thank you for being here. Thanks for listening and tagging along. I appreciate you so much. I love you so much. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.